Chapter 807. His aura was monstrous, and his chi and blood surged into the sky. He didn't look injured at all. Seeing that Murong didn't seem to be injured at all, Lu Ran and the other two, including Ji, were shocked. Not good, Run. Tu Wanshue suddenly growled. His body swayed, and he was about to fly away. Now they were seriously injured, but Murong was uninjured and still at his peak strength. They were no match for Murong. At the same time, even if Murong was seriously injured, they would still run away. After all, there was still one Ji. Although if they ran away, the Immortal Realm Alliance might be destroyed because of this. But after all, their own lives were more precious. Tu Wanshue and the other two had the same thought. Their bodies swayed, and they were about to escape. At the same time, several experts from the Immortal Realm Alliance had already soared into the sky and rushed toward Murong. 5 quasi-god experts. They were probably the strongest force in the Immortal Realm Alliance. They wanted to stop Murong from killing Lu Ran and the others. One of the quasi-gods was clearly nearing the middle stage of the quasi-god realm. His speed was extremely fast, and he quickly arrived near Murong. He slashed his sword at Murong, intending to kill him in one fell swoop. Scram! Murong coldly snorted. He didn't even look at the quasi-god expert as he sent out a punch. Bang! Murong power arrived first. Before the sword ray could land on him, his fist had already landed on the quasi-god's body. A powerful force exploded in an instant. The quasi-god expert didn't even have time to scream before his whole body was blown to pieces. One-hit kill. Rumble. The moment the quasi-god fell, the sky changed. Blood clouds, blood rain, blood lightning, wind roared, and rain fell. It was as if heaven and earth were crying. In an instant, the entire Kaijian state was shrouded in this strange phenomenon. It was so terrifying that it made people's hair stand on end and their souls tremble. The first quasi-god had fallen, cleanly killed by Murong with a single punch. Those who stop me die, Murong shouted. He stepped into the void and continued to chase after Lu Ran and the others. On the other hand, the quasi-god experts of the Immortal Realm Alliance stopped in their tracks. They didn't want to die. Although they'd saved Lu Ran and the others, they knew that their strength was nothing in front of Murong. He'd killed them with a single strike. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ran and the other two seized this opportunity to escape in 3 different directions. None of you can escape. Since you don't surrender, you must die. Murong's indifferent voice spread far and wide. It resounded throughout the entire Kaijian region, and even the skies of several nearby provinces. At the same time, a pair of huge black wings appeared on Murong's back. Phantom light wings. With a flap of his illusory wings, Murong abruptly disappeared. In fact, Murong didn't disappear into thin air. He was so fast that it was as if he disappeared into thin air. After breaking through to 10 million Earth Dragon power, Murong's strength and physical body reached the peak, especially his speed. It was even faster than when he tore through the void. In a single breath's time, Murong had appeared behind Lu Ran, who was running away at high speed. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at Lu Ran in the air. Lu Ran was terrified. When Murong stretched out his hand, he already felt the aura of death. At his peak, even Tu Wanshue and Murong weren't Murong's match. How could he possibly be by himself? Murong, even if I die, I'll take you down with me. Lu Ran suddenly stopped running. He turned around and pounced at Murong. During this process, his body started to swell. A terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth was released. At this moment, Lu Ran's soul and lifespan started to burn crazily. The result of this was that Lu Ran's power was getting stronger and stronger, even surpassing the power he had displayed when he used his ultimate technique. Self-destruct. Murong's eyes shone brightly. If such a super expert self-destructed, half of Kaijian would be razed to the ground. Countless people would be killed. Even Murong would be killed. After all, the self-destruction of a quasi-god was probably the attack of a god of the highest level. A god's attack was enough to kill Murong. In front of me, You don't even have the right to kill yourself. Murong Yu suddenly roared. His outstretched hand turned into a claw and ruthlessly punched Lu Ran. Bang! Lu Ran was directly sent flying out from the impact. However, Murong Yu was also sent flying. The power that Lu Ran exploded with was too strong. Murong Yu's all-out attack did not kill him. Die! Murong Yu roared as he charged forward, shattering the void. His invincible divine fist attacked again. Boom! 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 In just a breath's time, Murong Yu had already punched 100 million times, an attack with 100 million strength. Even a god would not be able to withstand such a violent attack, let alone Lu Ran. Boom! Lu Ran's entire body exploded with a deafening sound. In fact, Lu Ran could not withstand Murong Yu's 100 million punches. His body was blown up. However, Murong Yu's attack rhythm was too fast. He can even blow up Lu Ran, who is in self-destruction. This Murong Yu is too strong. At the sight of this, the surrounding crowd was dumbfounded. Each and every one of them looked at Murong Yu with admiration in their eyes. What was a god like? How strong was he? They did not know. They had never seen him before. However, at this moment, in their hearts, Murong Yu was an invincible god, a godlike existence. With Lu Ran's death, Lu Bai and Tu Wanchue's hearts were filled with fear. They fled in panic. I've already said that you have nowhere to run, Murong Yu indifferently said. With a flap of his illusory wings, he disappeared from where he stood. Tu Wanchue, who was running away, suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. He was shocked. Right at that moment, Murong Yu's figure appeared out of thin air and sent a punch straight at the old man. Tu Wanchue was shocked. He did not have the determination to self-destruct like Lu Ran. He only ran faster. However, his speed was laughable in front of Murong Yu. Bang! The fist, which contained a terrifying aura that could destroy the heavens and earth, hit Tu Wanchue hard. Tu Wanchue let out a blood-curdling scream as his entire body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. The changes in the sky became even more horrifying and terrifying. The whole world seemed to be covered by a huge pool of blood. Lu Ran and Tu Wanchue were killed one after another. Lu Bai was shocked. Finally, he gritted his teeth. Rumble. Another large patch of tribulation clouds appeared amidst the blood clouds that filled the sky. Waves after waves of powerful pressure were constantly being emitted out. At the same time, the tribulation lightning in the sky struck down towards Lu Bai. At this crucial moment, Lu Bai attracted the tribulation god. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to kill someone who was going through the tribulation god? In the distance, Tong Qing looked coldly at Lu Bai, who was going through the tribulation god. He was laughing coldly in his heart. He had already passed the tribulation god. Hence, he knew how terrifying it was. He knew that Lu Bai would not be able to pass the tribulation god. He would be turned into ashes in the tribulation god. Even if Lu Bai passed the tribulation god, so what? He was still no match for Murong Yu. Didn't he just pass the tribulation god? Now, he couldn't even ascend. One could only imagine how terrifying Murong Yu's methods were. Seeing that Lu Bai had attracted the tribulation god, Murong Yu stopped his pursuit. He hovered in the air and looked indifferently at Lu Bai in the distance. He knew that when Lu Bai attracted the tribulation god, there was no need for him to do anything. The tribulation god would turn Lu Bai into ashes. In reality, it was just as Murong Yu had said. When the 10th divine tribulation descended, Lu Bai let out a blood-curdling scream that shook the heavens and earth. His entire body was blasted into smithereens by the boundless tribulation lightning. The tribulation god was already very terrifying. When Lu Bai was at his peak, he might be able to withstand dozens of tribulation gods. But now, he was severely injured by Murong Yu. Coupled with the fact that he had no time to prepare, he couldn't even pass the 10th tribulation god's tribulation god. 3 of the 4 giants of the Immortal Realm Alliance are dead. I'm afraid the other one is also crippled. The Immortal Realm Alliance is going to decline. Seeing this scene, many people had the same thought. They're all dead. Ha! Ji laughed in his heart. But soon his laughter stopped. Because he felt Murong Yu's gaze pass through billions of time and space and land on his face. At the same time, Muronyu stepped through the void and walked toward him. Muronyu, how about we enter the tomb of the gods together and take the godhead? We'll split the things in the tomb of the gods equally. Ji looked at Muronyu and suddenly said, "Are you talking about the tomb of the gods in the Huaxiao world of self-cultivators?" Muronyu looked at Ji and said calmly. Ji quickly nodded. Now that Tongqing had been destroyed, it seemed to be under Murongyu's control. If he wanted to become a god and obtain the godhood, he could only rely on the tomb of the gods. Without Murongyu's permission, he wouldn't dare to enter the Huaxiao world of self-cultivators. "Idiot," Muronyu suddenly said. Ji flew into a rage and glared murderously at Muronyu. "What do you mean by that? I said you're an idiot. Don't you understand? The tomb of the gods belongs to the Huaxiao world of self-cultivators, and I'm the enforcer of the Huaxiao world of self-cultivators. In other words, the tomb of the gods belongs to me. Why should I give you half of it? If you're not an idiot, then what are you?" Muronyu said calmly. He didn't hide the disdain and contempt in his voice. Chapter 808. You're courting death. Being ridiculed and despised by Muronyu right in front of his face. How could the proud Ji family endure it? With a cold shout, he instantly unleashed all of his strength and punched at Muronyu. A cold glint flashed between Muronyu's brows as he coldly snorted and threw a punch out as well. Boom! Muronyu's body only trembled slightly, but GMO was sent flying. He spat out blood in midair. After taking Muronyu's punch, Ji remembered Muronyu's terrifying strength. Immediately, he was overwhelmed with shock and regret. His figure spun in the void, and with a single step, he shattered a large piece of the void and flew into the distance. He escaped. As long as you're in the immortal world, you're destined to be killed by me. There's nowhere to run. Muronyu sneered and transmitted his voice to Sun Haoshan, Nangong Jun, and the others. Muronyu began to chase after Ji. As for the powerhouses of the Divine Union, there were also quasi-gods among them. However, they did not attack when they saw Muronyu chasing after Ji. They did not dare to attack. They knew that if they dared to make a move, Muronyu could kill them with a single punch. They didn't want to die. Therefore, they did not stop him. The illusory light wings flapped, and Muronyu instantly disappeared from where he stood. Soon, he caught up with GMO. Then he unleashed his ultimate skill and attacked him. Ji was stronger than Lu Ran and the others. However, he was still far from Lu Ran and the others, who had unleashed their strongest attacks and ultimate moves. Even Lu Ran and the others were no match for Muronyu, let alone Ji. It did not take long for Ji to be bombarded to the point where he could not escape. As a god, he had many tricks up his sleeve. However, the crux of the matter was that all of his powerful techniques were powered by divine power. Now that he was not even a god, he naturally did not have divine power. Therefore, even if he had ultimate moves, he could not unleash much power. He was not even as strong as Lu Ran and the others. Bang! Muronyu's fist shot out and sent GMO crashing to the ground. Then, Muronyu stretched out his hand and grabbed Ji Yanshu, intending to kill him. Muronyu, you can't kill me. You'll definitely regret it. After being captured by Muronyu, Ji Fan calmed down. He didn't panic, nor did he have any intention of begging for mercy. I'll regret it if I don't kill you. Muronyu smiled coldly. If you kill me, you'll have nowhere to go. Your end will be 1,000,000 times more miserable than mine. The Divine Union will not let you off if you kill me. Ji sneered Ji. Divine Union? Don't worry. After I kill you, I will destroy the Divine Union immediately. From today onwards, there will no longer be a Divine Union in this world. Boasting shamelessly? Just you? Ridiculous. Ji Lung laughed heartily. However, his laughter abruptly came to a halt. Muronyu's large hand had already squeezed him to the point of bursting. No soul. After Muronyu crushed GMO, he discovered that GMO's soul space was completely empty. There wasn't a single strand of his soul. Did his soul escape? Or did he resurrect with only his physical body? Muronyu's face darkened. He instinctively felt that something was wrong. I don't care if your soul is somewhere else. As long as you're in the immortal realm, you'll never be able to cause any trouble. Divine Union? I'll make him disappear completely today. Murong sneered and returned to Kaijian City. Meanwhile, the powerhouses of the Divine Union had fled. As for the quasi-god powerhouses of the Immortal Realm Alliance, they had been controlled by Sun Haoshan and the others. When Murong returned to Kaijian City, Sun Haoshan and the others had already taken control of the entire Immortal Realm Alliance. Murong returned to Shenzhen after leaving behind a few quasi-god powerhouses in Kaijian City. On the same day, Murong officially announced the existence of Shenzhen to the public. Shenzhen's appearance shocked the world. However, what shocked the world even more was that the Immortal Realm Alliance announced that it had merged with Shenzhen less than half a day after Shenzhen's official appearance. From then on, Shenzhen became the biggest force in the Immortal Realm and controlled the southern region of the Immortal Realm. At the same time, Shenzhen's quasi-god powerhouses were mobilized and began to wipe out all the forces within their sphere of influence. All forces had to merge with Shenzhen and accept Shenzhen's reorganization. If they didn't agree or resisted, they would be killed and destroyed. In the beginning, when the Immortal Realm Alliance was chosen to merge with Shenzhen, many people were unwilling to merge with Shenzhen because it violated the interests of many people, especially the forces led by the Immortal Palace and the Holy Gate. In fact, only the Heavenly Punisher Palace and the Devil Sect were willing to merge with Shenzhen. Tong Qing, the Palace Master of the Heavenly Punisher Palace, had already sided with the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Naturally, the Heavenly Punisher Palace was merged with Shenzhen. Of course, not everyone was willing to merge with Shenzhen. There were definitely people who were against it. Next was the Devil Sect. After Tu Wanxue was killed, Nangong Jun and the others had taken control of the entire Devil Sect and finally announced that it would merge with Shenzhen. Of course, there were also people in the Devil Sect who were unwilling to join Shenzhen. Murong methods were cruel to these people. He directly dispatched quasi-god experts to kill them. Anyone who didn't want to die would die. Right now, the thing that Glory Sect did not lack the most was powerful people. Therefore, Murong did not hesitate to kill those people. In less than half a day, the Heavenly Punisher Palace and the Devil Sect were covered in blood. The voices of opposition were completely suppressed. Almost everyone who opposed him was killed. At the same time, during this process, many of Shenzhen's quasi-god powerhouses also took action at the same time. They led the army of Shenzhen's powerhouses to suppress the Holy Gate and the Immortal Palace. These few days, it could be said that blood flowed like rivers. Obviously, large groups of people died like ants. Above the vault of heaven, there were continuous outbursts of heaven and earth. This was because the immortal venerables were constantly being killed. Moreover, the most shocking thing was that the forces led by the Holy Gate and the Immortal Palace were not Shenzhen's match at all. From the beginning, it was a one-sided situation. It was a complete massacre. There was no other way. Shenzhen's people were too ruthless. Would quasi-god powerhouses disdain to attack ordinary immortals? That was not the case. To Shenzhen's people, all those who did not submit to Shenzhen were enemies. Since they were enemies, they had to die. Therefore, no matter if they were quasi-gods, immortal venerables, immortal emperors, or even immortal lords, as long as they appeared in front of them, they would not be soft-hearted and would kill them all. Under the suppression of Shenzhen's quasi-god army, the stubborn members of the Immortal Realm Alliance, including a few quasi-gods, were all killed. In the end, in just 3 days, the entire southern part of the Immortal Realm was controlled by Murong. All the forces, regardless of their size, submitted to Shenzhen and became part of Shenzhen. On the 4th day after killing Lu Ran, Ji, and the others, Murong, or Shenzhen, officially launched an attack on the Divine Union in the northern part of the Immortal Realm. At the same time, Shenzhen's quasi-god powerhouses had exceeded 100. Under the leadership of 100 quasi-gods, the Divine Union could not withstand a single blow from Shenzhen's army. It was as easy as blowing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The final outcome left Murong speechless. In just 3 days, Shenzhen had completely destroyed the Divine Union and brought countless forces under Shenzhen. Without Ji, the Divine Union was even more vulnerable than the Sacred Sect, the Immortal Palace, and other stubborn forces. The Divine Union is just SOSO. Morong Yu smiled faintly after learning that the Divine Union had been destroyed. When he had first heard Ji's words, Morong Yu had been a little worried. He had thought that there were still some powerhouses in the Divine Union that he did not know about. However, there were none. After destroying the Divine Union, Shenzhen had unified the Immortal Realm. Of course, this was only a great unification. Shenzhen's foundation had not stabilized yet. However, stabilizing the Immortal Realm was not something that could be done in a day or two. Time was needed to settle down. Of course, Morong Yu had the experience of unifying the world. In fact, Morong Yu had no experience in management. The people who had been managing Shenzhen had always been Zhang Ao, Duan Muqing, and the others. These people were the people in charge. The reason Shenzhen had been able to hold on for a few days was all thanks to their efforts. Therefore, after unifying the Immortal Realm, Morong Yu had immediately become a hands-off manager and handed over Shenzhen's matters to Zhang Ao, Duan Muqing, and the others. Morong Yu would only make decisions when there were some major decisions or issues that Zhang Ao and the others could not make. In fact, Morong Yu was Shenzhen's spiritual center and a supreme existence. He only needed to exist. He didn't need to manage anything at all. Moreover, Shenzhen had been developing for so many years and was already on the right track. Everything was in order. Even if Morong Yu and the others didn't manage things, Shenzhen wouldn't be thrown into chaos. Time passed slowly, year after year. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had gone by. Shenzhen had long since gained a firm foothold in the Immortal Realm and become an absolute overlord. In fact, apart from Shenzhen, there were no other factions in the Immortal Realm. The entire Immortal Realm was Shenzhen, and Shenzhen was the Immortal Realm. Moreover, over the years, those who had been disloyal had gradually assimilated into Shenzhen. Why was that? Because Shenzhen was absolutely fair and just. Everyone's treatment was transparent. Those who performed well would be rewarded, and those who committed mistakes would be punished. Most importantly, Shenzhen also had large quantities of pills and weapons. King Breaker Pills, Immortal Breaker Pills, Emperor Breaker Pills. There were even Divine Tribulation Pills. These were heaven-defying pills that had almost gone extinct in the Immortal Realm. After Shenzhen, anyone could obtain these legendary pills as long as they had enough contribution points. Even the Divine Tribulation Pills were no exception. Of course, Shenzhen also needed their loyalty when they had enough contribution points. Countless immortal emperors and immortal sovereigns grew excited and began to truly assimilate into Shenzhen, working hard to accumulate contribution points. They all wanted the Divine Tribulation Pills. At the same time, immortals of other realms were the same. They hadn't reached the realm where they could trigger Divine Tribulation, but there were other pills like Emperor Breaker Pills and Monarch Breaker Pills that many of them needed. Many had no hope of breaking through to Immortal King in their lifetime. Monarchs were immortal emperors. However, joining Shenzhen was no longer an extravagant hope. In fact, becoming a god was no longer a dream after joining Shenzhen. Stimulated by these heaven-defying pills, countless old monsters hidden in the Immortal Realm emerged one after another to join Shenzhen, further solidifying Shenzhen's position as the sole overlord. Chapter 809. After the Immortal Realm was unified, Morong Yu became the master of the Immortal Realm, the absolute overlord. At this point, Morong Yu was finally at ease because there was no one in the Immortal Realm who could threaten him. Morong, you've already controlled 32 cultivation realms. There's still 4 more that you haven't controlled. I think that once you control all 36 cultivation realms, there will be a surprise. In a beautiful scenic spot in Xiongtian cultivation realm, Morong Yu and Zhao Jiqing were lying there leisurely, enjoying the beautiful scenery. Ever since he unified the Immortal Realm, Morong Yu handed Shenzhen over to Zhang Ao and the others, and he became a hands-off boss. At the same time, he took the opportunity to bring Zhao, Jiqing, and the others around the world, living a carefree life. You have this feeling too? Murong, you looked at Zhao, Jiqing in shock. In fact, Murong, you had this feeling for a long time. He vaguely felt that once he controlled the 36 cultivation realms, something would happen and it would be beneficial to him. Unfortunately, he didn't find the other 4 enforcers of the cultivation realms in the immortal realm. After Murong, you controlled more cultivation realms than normal. He could sense the existence of the other enforcers in the immortal realm. Now that he controlled 32 cultivation realms, he couldn't sense the other 4 cultivation realms in the immortal realm. There were only 2 possibilities. The first was that the 4 cultivation realms had been killed and the origin energy had returned to their cultivation realms, but the new enforcers hadn't ascended to the immortal realm yet. The second possibility was that the 4 enforcers were hiding in their cultivation realms and not coming out. Regardless of the situation, Murong, you would need a very long time to take control of the 4 cultivation worlds. Zhao, Jiqing shook her head. I just feel that there must be some special connection between the 36 cultivation realms, and it will only appear after I control them all. Murong, you nodded. Big gangster. Do you think the immortal realm also has an enforcer? Yu Mengqing suddenly asked as she approached. Murong Yu was stunned, and then his expression changed. One must know that the Heavenly Punisher Palace exists in both the immortal world and the immortal world. The Heavenly Punishing Palace in the immortal world controlled the punishers of the 36 cultivation worlds. Since there were punishers in the cultivation world, would there be similar punishers in the immortal world? If the immortal realm truly has a punisher, Murong Yu's heart suddenly sank. He was the enforcer of the cultivation world, so he understood how terrifying enforcer's control over the world was. As long as he was willing, he could kill anyone in the cultivation world with just a thought, regardless of their strength. If the immortal world also had enforcers, then they would definitely have this kind of power. Most importantly, it seemed that only the Heavenly Punisher Palace had enforcers. And now Murong Yu had killed that enforcer. If there really was an enforcer, then although Murong Yu was very strong and had reached 10 million Earth Dragon strength, he would definitely not be a match for that enforcer. Zhao, Jiqing, and the other 2's faces also changed. Clearly, they had also thought of this problem. If this was really the case, then this matter was serious. Don't worry, there shouldn't be any enforcers in the immortal world. Otherwise, would they just watch as I unify the immortal world? Murong Yu suddenly said with a smile. Really? Yu Mengqing asked in return. Murong Yu nodded with a smile on his face, without a trace of worry. But was Murong Yu really not worried at all? In fact, he vaguely felt a trace of danger in his heart. He knew that there were enforcers in the cultivation world, so there must be one in the immortal world as well. As for why the enforcer had not come out to interfere this time, there must be a reason. Perhaps the enforcer of the Yin Huang immortal world was in seclusion in the immortal world, or he could not leave for the time being, or he could not be bothered to interfere in this matter. But no matter what, the enforcer of the Yin Huang immortal world was like an incomparably sharp divine weapon that often floated above Murong Yu's head. Perhaps one day, he would fall and cut Murong Yu in half. I have to hurry and find the other 4 enforcers of the cultivation world. Perhaps only by gathering the power of the origin of the 36 cultivation worlds can I connect with the power of the immortal world. Murong Yu thought in his heart and secretly made up his mind. In fact, ever since Shenzhen had unified the immortal world, Murong Yu had tried to sense the power of the immortal world's origin. But unfortunately, the power of the Yin Huang immortal world's origin did not care about Murong Yu at all. The immortal world definitely had the power of the cultivation world's origin. The reason why it did not care about Murong Yu must be that Murong Yu was not qualified to contact it. Perhaps only by gathering the power of the origin of the 30 cultivation worlds can I connect with it. If not, then I will ascend to immortality as soon as possible. Who cares if he is enforcer? I will go to the immortal world and kill him. Murong Yu made up his mind. He did not want enforcer to constantly threaten him, his family, and friends. In the following time, Murong and the three girls wandered around the immortal world and many other cultivation worlds as if nothing had happened. During this process, Murong had confirmed that the other four enforcers of the cultivation world were not dead, but were hiding in their own cultivation worlds. On this day, they came to the Huaxia cultivation world. I have something to deal with in the next few days, so I can't accompany you. The three of you can go and have fun by yourselves. Other than the tomb of the gods, go anywhere else. Don't worry about danger. Murong kissed Zhao, Jiqing, and the others on their foreheads and disappeared in a flash. After Murong left, Yu Mengxing hurriedly said to Zhao, Jiqing, and Mu Liu, Sister Jiqing, "Did you notice that the big hooligan seemed to have something on his mind? Although he hid it well, there was something on his mind. However, he did not show it all these years because he did not want us to worry." Zhao, Jiqing said faintly. The three girls had been with Murong for a long time. Although Murong hid it well, they still found out. Is it because of the immortal world's enforcers? It's all my fault. If I didn't mention it that day, the big hooligan would not be like this. Yu Mengxing said with some self-blame. It's not your fault. Even if you didn't say it, the little man would know. Moreover, he must have always been thinking about the immortal world's enforcers. He just hasn't faced it yet. Sisters, if the immortal world really has enforcers, what should we do? The big hooligan, and even we will be in great danger. Yu Mengxing was anxious. There's nothing we can do. Our strength is still too weak. We can't help Murong. Zhao Jiqing sighed, her eyes flashing with a touch of worry. If we are not strong enough, we can cultivate. Sisters, I'm going to cultivate. I must become strong as soon as possible. If anyone dares to harm the big hooligan, I will destroy them. Yu Mengxing said with a murderous look, and then went to cultivate. Let's not fall behind. Zhao Jiqing and Mu Liu looked at each other and then disappeared. In the origin space of the Huaxia self-cultivation world, Murong was communicating with the origin gates of the 32 self-cultivation worlds he controlled. Can you really transfer me to the mystery world and the other self-cultivation worlds? Murong asked with some hesitation. The enforcers of the mystery world and the other self-cultivation worlds were holed up in their self-cultivation worlds. Murong had no chance to subdue them. His only chance was to rush into their self-cultivation world. Murong could enter their self-cultivation world alone, but he would not choose to enter the self-cultivation worlds with enforcers unless it was the last moment. Even though he was strong and had reached 10 million Earth Dragon power, he was not weak at all. However, if he entered the mystery world, he would definitely be destroyed by the enforcers of the mystery world. Moreover, if Murong didn't want to control the other self-cultivation worlds, he could have just destroyed them. The enforcers are invincible in their self-cultivation worlds. However, as long as you catch them off guard, you could just rush over and destroy them. The origin of the star self-cultivation world said indifferently. Murong frowned slightly. With his strength, it would not be difficult for him to kill an enforcer in a self-cultivation world. However, the key was to not let them react before he destroyed them. Otherwise, Murong would be the one to be killed. We can sense the enforcer's existence. Then, we can gather the power of the 32 of us and send you directly to the enforcer. You just need to kill him. The origin of the Huaxia self-cultivation world seemed to know what Murong was thinking and said. However, if you can't kill him in one blow, you must retreat immediately. Otherwise, you will be in danger. The origin of the mysterious sky self-cultivation world spoke. The enforcer of the mysterious sky self-cultivation world was originally Feng Rou. Later, Feng Rou gave the origin to Murong. Now, Feng Rou was naturally part of Shenzhen. In that case, let's kill our way over. Murong's eyes flashed. The enforcer of the immortal world gave him a lot of pressure. He urgently wanted to get rid of this pressure, and increasing his strength was naturally the best way to do so. 3 days later, the enforcers had already sensed the location of the enforcer of the mysterious sky self-cultivation world. Let's tear space apart, Murong indifferently said. Then, the 32 origins of the self-cultivation world under Murong's control moved. In the boundless starry sky, A huge spatial passage suddenly extended from the Huaxia self-cultivation world. It bypassed countless stars and finally connected to the mysterious sky self-cultivation world. Mysterious sky self-cultivation world on Mysterious Peak. The enforcer of the mysterious sky self-cultivation world was cultivating in seclusion. However, all of a sudden, he felt the entire Taishian world of cultivation tremble violently. At the same time, the source of the Taishian world of cultivation began to ring in his mind. Enemy invasion. Enemy invasion. Extreme danger. Extreme danger. The enforcer of the mysterious sky self-cultivation world was so shocked that he couldn't react for a moment. Right at this moment, an extremely huge spatial passageway suddenly appeared in the sky above him. Chapter 8:10. Seeing the incomparably huge spatial tunnel, a powerful and dangerous aura erupted from the spatial tunnel and directly locked onto him. The enforcer of the Zenith Mystery World was dumbfounded and didn't know how to react. In fact, he didn't expect that anyone in the Taishian cultivation world would dare to attack him. Even if someone sneaked up on him, with his strength as an immortal, venerable, and enforcer of this cultivation world, the attacker wouldn't succeed. Therefore, when he saw someone sneak up on him, he didn't think much of it. Because of this, his reaction was a beat slower. But soon, he found that he was wrong. He was ridiculously wrong. Bang! A huge hand suddenly came out of the void with a destructive aura. It contained an aura that made the souls of the enforcers of the mystery world tremble. It quickly slapped down. At this moment, an extremely strong aura of death rose from the bottom of the enforcer's heart. He instantly knew that the person who sneaked up on him was a great threat to his life, and he was very likely to be killed. At this moment, he finally came to his senses. He roared and was about to use the power of the Taishian cultivation world to kill the attacker. But his reaction was still a beat slower. Or rather, the attacker was too fast. When he roared, the big hand had already slapped down. Bang! The poor punisher of the grand mystery world didn't even have time to use his power before he was smashed into a mist of blood. He couldn't be more dead. After the Taishian world of cultivation was killed, the entire Taishian world of cultivation changed. Blood clouds rolled and blood rain filled the sky. At the same time, on the Taishian peak, after the enforcer was killed, a mass of gray energy shot out from the bloody mist and flew toward the sky. "Where are you going?" Murong-Yu roared and strode out of the void. His huge hand reached for the origin energy of the Taishian cultivation world. At the same time, the origin energy of the 32 cultivation worlds in Murong-Yu's body burst out and chased after it. Rumble, Murong-Yu's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he had enveloped the ball of origin energy. At the same time, the rules of space burst out and imprisoned the nearby space. He absolutely could not let this ball of origin energy escape. Once it escaped, they would be able to enter the origin space. At that time, Murong-Yu wouldn't be able to subdue it even if he wanted to. The origin energy was extremely fast, but Murong-Yu's reaction was even faster. As a result, the origin energy directly crashed into the imprisoned void. At the same time, Murong-Yu's big hand grabbed down. The origin energy of the Taishian cultivation world was immediately furious. At this moment, the entire Taishian cultivation world seemed to shake. However, there was nothing he could do about it. He had great power. He had great power, but if he was alone, he couldn't exert his power. If he wanted to unleash his great power, he must have a way to do so. Only when the two of them complemented each other could he unleash his great power. Even gods did not dare to step into their world of self-cultivation. Therefore, although he was furious, there was nothing he could do. In front of Murong-Yu's strength of 10 million Earth Dragons, the origin energy of the Taishian cultivation world couldn't break through his space imprisonment. Murong-Yu's big hand immediately imprisoned and captured it. Surrender. Murong-Yu slapped the origin energy of the Taishian cultivation world into his dantian and began to refine it. In the beginning, the origin energy of the Taishian cultivation world tried its best to resist, but when it saw the origin energy of the other 32 cultivation worlds, it fell silent. Then, it gave up resisting and merged with Murongyu. In less than half a day, Murongyu refined the origin energy of the Taishian cultivation world and took control of it. At this point, Murongyu had already taken control of 33 cultivation worlds. There were still 3 cultivation worlds that he had yet to take control of. I still can't break through. Neither my realm nor my strength can break through. Murongyu frowned slightly. He was still at 10 million Earth Dragons, the limit of the immortal world. Moreover, Murongyu was depressed to find that although his realm had reached the peak of the late immortal Emperor realm, and Murongyu felt that he could break through and reach the immortal Venerable realm, he didn't know if it was because his strength had reached the limit. However, it seemed that someone was suppressing his realm, preventing him from breaking through to the immortal Venerable realm. Is there really no way to break through this limit? Murongyu muttered to himself, feeling somewhat unhappy. His lifespan had reached several epochs, and he had already broken through the limit of the immortal world. In his opinion, his strength should be able to break through 10 million Earth Dragons. Is there really no way to break through? I don't believe that as long as I take control of all 36 cultivation worlds, I don't believe that I can't break through this so-called limit. Murongyu made up his mind and continued his journey. A few days later, Murongyu made use of the various cultivation worlds' origin forces to successfully kill the 2 enforcers of the other cultivation worlds and took control of their cultivation worlds. However, Murongyu's realm and strength still didn't break through. There is one last cultivation world, the immortal origin cultivation world. Murongyu took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart. A long time ago, Murongyu faintly felt that if he took control of all 36 cultivation worlds, he would definitely reach a certain realm. What is this surprise? Will it allow me to break through the limit of my strength or something else? Murongyu pondered in his heart. At the same time, the 35 cultivation worlds' origin forces joined together and began to tear open the void passage. In fact, they were as excited as Murongyu, because this was an unprecedented feat in all of history. In the past, even 2 cultivation worlds had never gathered on a single person, let alone 36 cultivation worlds gathered on a single person. They were also looking forward to seeing what would happen if the 36 cultivation worlds were all gathered together. Would there be any surprises? While they were thinking, the void passage connecting to the immortal origin cultivation world was already established, and Murongyu stepped into the void passage. Rumble. Just as Murongyu stepped into the void passage and prepared to teleport to the immortal origin cultivation world, the entire Yanhuang cultivation world shook violently. At this moment, the entire immortal world's people's minds were greatly shaken. Many people who were in closed-door cultivation were directly shaken awake and vomited blood. Their many years of cultivation results were almost shattered, and their strength was almost reversed, causing them to go berserk. Even Murongyu's mind was greatly shaken, and his mind was greatly shaken. He was a little uneasy. What's going on? Murongyu was shocked. This was something that had never happened before. In the immortal world, countless experts were enraged and rushed out of their cultivation places with murderous intent. They all thought that someone was fighting in their seclusion, and that was why they were shaken. However, they soon realized that there was no one fighting near them, and almost everyone was the same. Moreover, in the immortal realm, some of the weaker and unlucky people were directly shaken to death by the tremor just now. What's going on? Countless people were shocked at the same time. At the same time, an extremely terrifying pressure came over, suppressing the void and causing it to shatter continuously. Bang! 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 Countless experts who were originally flying in the void were directly suppressed to the ground by this terrifying pressure. It was the same even for quasi-god experts. Nanling Mountain's Chaos Shenzhen. A crack suddenly appeared in the sky, and then a young man shimmering with golden light walked out of it. His steps shattered millions of voids, and an incomparably terrifying aura emanated from him. suppressing the entire immortal world. Rumble, Shenzhen's great protective formation, was immediately activated by the impact of this young man's aura. It emitted rays of sword light, and a terrifying power soared into the sky, tearing the sky and splitting the earth, bursting with powerful light. You overestimate yourself. When the young man in the void saw this, he sneered and pressed his finger down on the primal chaos holy ancestor. What happened next shocked Shenzhen's experts. Shenzhen's most powerful protective formation had no effect at all. It couldn't withstand the power of this young man's finger bang. Bang! Bang! Violent explosions continued to reverberate. Shenzhen's protective formation, which couldn't be shaken even by the joint attack of hundreds of quasi-gods, was being destroyed continuously. What a terrifying power! Who is this young man? Many Shenzhen's experts stood up straight with great difficulty, looking at the young man in the sky in shock. Apart from the quasi-god experts and some powerful immortal venerables, the rest were forced to prostrate on the ground by the terrifying pressure emitted by the young man. They couldn't even lift their heads, and even their divine sense couldn't leave their bodies. The young man's strength was so terrifying. Could it be that he is the legendary god? Is this the power of God? A terrifying thought flashed through everyone's mind. You're Shenzhen? The Shenzhen who unified the immortal world? You're just like an ant. I really don't know how you managed to unify the immortal world and even kill the physical body of a young master. Call your sect master, Murong out, the young man said arrogantly, looking down at Shenzhen with disdain. Young master? What young master? Shenzhen's experts looked at each other. Shenzhen had killed the young master of this young man. Who could have such a terrifying subordinate? Who was the other party? What force? Chapter 8:11. Who is it? Everything happened in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Murong, who had just stepped into the void passage, retracted his foot. He had seen everything that happened in the immortal world clearly, and he could still feel the power of the young man. If one were to use one word to describe that young man, it would be powerful. If he had to describe him with more words, it would be extremely powerful. He was definitely more powerful than Murong. He definitely has more than 10 million earth dragons of power. Is he really a god from the god realm? Who is the young master he mentioned? Murong thought to himself with a gloomy face. Who are you? Before the young man could finish his words, Murong stepped out of Shenzhen and appeared in the void, not far from the young man. The young man's aura was so powerful that it almost suppressed the entire immortal world, causing it to tremble constantly. However, what Murong wasn't afraid of the least was aura suppression. Once he activated the space precepts, the so-called aura automatically bypassed his body before it even touched him. You are the Holy Lord of Shenzhen, Murong? It's just a power clone. You're courting death. The young man glanced at Murong and his face darkened. At the same time, he pointed his finger at him. Poor Murong's power clone did not have much power. It was not even able to dodge the young man's finger before it was smashed into pieces. Only a clone appeared. You're so arrogant. Since that's the case, I'll force you out. The young man shouted coldly with a murderous intent. An enormous divine thought immediately swept out. It swept past Shenzhen, Namling, and even the entire Lingnan region. However, what made the young man furious was that he did not find Murong. He's not here. The young man was furious and stepped out. Rumble, one of the mountains in the southern mountains, was immediately shattered in a fine powder. A powerful aura burst out, and Shenzhen's disciples became even more terrified. Some of them who were not strong enough were directly killed. Damn it, he's not here. The young man was furious. His heart was burning with rage, and his killing intent soared. After Murong's energy avatar appeared, he had already sensed its aura. Immediately, his consciousness spread out rapidly. It swept past the Namling Mountains, the few large prefectures nearby, and even further away. He's definitely a god. In the world of cultivation, Murong's face was livid. A thought flashed through his mind as he prepared to return to the celestial world. Young master, you absolutely cannot go back to the immortal world. Even if you have Hichu Luo Shu, you are still no match for that god. You will be killed immediately. Even Hichu Luoshu won't have the chance to enter. Hichu quickly warned, that God's target is obviously me. If I don't go back, Shenzhen and even the entire immortal world will be slaughtered by him. I will definitely not let this happen to him. But even if you go back, can you change this matter? You will only be courting death if you go back. Hichu said sternly. Morongyu was silent. Once again, he felt that he was weak. He thought that he had become the overlord of the immortal world and was an absolute powerhouse. He thought that he had enough power to protect the people around him. However, a random god from the immortal world could force him into a corner. There's only one way now. Take control of the last world of cultivation. Perhaps you will be able to break through because of this. Once you break through, you may have the power to fight that young man. Even if you can't kill him, you still have your family to transfer important people from the immortal world to the world of cultivation. Hichu said in a deep voice, transferring people to the world of cultivation. Even a god would not dare to enter the world of cultivation. Once he entered the world of cultivation, he would be courting death. Right now, this is the only way. Morongyu muttered to himself for a long time. He believed that this was the only path they could take. Thus, he gritted his teeth and stepped into the spatial tunnel. Immortal source world of cultivation in one of the cities in the immortal source continent. A young man was walking aimlessly on the streets. Suddenly, the young man felt something and raised his head to look at the sky above his head. A large black hand broke through the void. With a force of 10,000 caddies, it enveloped him and fiercely slammed down. The young man's expression changed instantly. He roared and was about to raise his strength to the limit. He circulated his origin energy and was about to teleport away. Nothing. Above the sky of Sage Sect in the immortal world, the young man was thoroughly enraged. His furious roars rang out unceasingly, causing the void to shatter and the earth to shatter. The buildings within Sage Sect were also collapsing unceasingly. There were people who were killed by the tremors, and those who were shaken to the point of vomiting blood. The young man could not find Morongyu. His mission in the immortal world was to kill Morongyu. But now, he could not even find Morongyu's shadow. Even the energy clone has come out. The original body must have known about this matter. As long as I control Shenzhen, let's see if you still won't come out. The young man sneered. His large hand suddenly reached out and slammed down on Shenzhen. It's over. Feeling the young man's large hand, many experts in Shenzhen were in despair. The young man's strength was too great. Even if they were quasi-gods, they were still no match for him. They didn't even have the qualifications to fight. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. Thank goodness the Holy Lord isn't in the immortal world. He'll avenge us in the future. Everyone was in despair, but no one was willing to surrender or beg for their lives. However, to their relief, the young man didn't kill them. With a single slap, the entire Shenzhen was enveloped in a layer of golden light. Like the dome of the sky, the light enveloped Shenzhen. It was so airtight that not even a mosquito could fly through. At the same time, the young man flicked his finger and destroyed one teleportation formation after another in Shenzhen. Some of these formations were connected to the main cities of the immortal world of immortals. Some were teleported to their own cultivation realms. It's good that the formations are destroyed. As long as people from the cultivation world don't teleport here, the disciples of Shenzhen won't be exterminated. As long as the Holy Lord breaks through, he'll be able to kill this person and destroy the sect behind him. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. No one was afraid of death. None of you are afraid of death. The young man couldn't help but feel a little strange when he saw that everyone seemed to be relieved. But more than that, he sneered and disdained. I'll give you 3 days. If Morongyu doesn't appear in 3 days, you'll all die. Not only that, but everyone in the immortal world will die. The entire immortal world will be destroyed and return to the primordial era, returning to chaos. The young man's cold, emotionless voice rang out above Shenzhen and even spread far and wide in all directions. It wasn't only for the people of Shenzhen to hear, but also for the entire immortal world and Murong-yu, who was lurking in the shadows. After saying that, the young man sat down cross-legged in the void above Shenzhen and waited for Murong-yu to return. He knew Murong-yu's character. With Murong-yu's sentimental personality, he definitely wouldn't watch Shenzhen be destroyed, let alone the entire immortal world being destroyed because of him. The young man firmly believed that Murong-yu would appear in 3 days. Sitting cross-legged in the sky, the young man didn't realize that in the depths of the southern mountains, a pair of eyes filled with hatred was staring at him with murderous intent. Logically speaking, with the young man's strength, if someone stared at him, he would definitely sense it. But now, he was being stared at with murderous intent and hatred, and he didn't sense it at all. Was this person even stronger than him? Or did he have some kind of cultivation method to hide his aura? The first day passed, and Murong-yu didn't appear. The second day passed, and Murong-yu still didn't appear. Soon, the 3-day deadline was about to arrive. 2 days ago, in the Immortal Origin Cultivation World, the enforcer of the Immortal Origin Cultivation World died. The entire cultivation world was covered in a rain of blood. The last cultivation world. After controlling the Immortal Origin Cultivation World, can my strength break through the limit? Surpass 10 million Earth Dragon strength? It's best if I can break through. Otherwise, Shenzhen and the entire immortal world will be destroyed. I definitely won't allow that to happen. Immortal Origin Cultivation World, 36 cultivation worlds. I hope you won't disappoint me. I need a surprise. Otherwise, I can only undergo tribulation and become a god. If Murong-yu wanted to undergo tribulation, he would definitely succeed. But after undergoing tribulation, he still wouldn't be that young man's match. Unless he condensed his own godhead and became a god, then it would be possible. But who knew how long Murong-yu would need to condense his own godhead? By that time, it would be too late. In the Immortal Origin Cultivation World's origin space, Murong-yu sat down and started refining the Immortal Origin Cultivation World. Soon, he completely controlled the entire Immortal Origin Cultivation World. Then, at this moment, Murong-yu finally broke through. Rumble, whether it was his cultivation realm or strength, both started to break through. He directly broke through to the initial stage, Immortal Venerable Realm. His strength also broke through 10 million Earth Dragon strength. 1 million, 1 million. Soon, Murong-yu's strength rose to 15 million Earth Dragon strength. Moreover, the momentum of growth was still fast and crazy. However, Murong-yu's attention wasn't on his cultivation realm or strength breakthrough at all. Instead, it was in his dantian. This was because, after he refined the Immortal Origin World's origin energy, the origin energy of the Immortal Origin World in his dantian started to change. It actually started to fuse together without any gaps. It was as if they were originally one. Now, these cultivation worlds' origin energy were just recombining into one, becoming the same as before. Soon, the 36 cultivation worlds' origin energy completely fused together, forming a brand new body. There was no longer any cultivation world's origin energy, but there was an additional ball of golden energy in Murong-yu's dantian. A new ball of energy that was billions of times stronger than the cultivation world's origin energy. Chapter 8:12. Immortal Realm Origin. When the golden energy appeared, these words naturally appeared in Murong-yu's mind. It's actually the Immortal Realm Origin. Murong-yu's originally calm heart became excited at this time. At the same time, information from the Immortal Realm Origin was constantly transmitted into Murong-yu's memory. There were Punishers in the Immortal Realm. But the Punishers in the Immortal Realm were different from the Punishers in the Cultivation World, because the Punishers in the Immortal Realm were not recognized by the Immortal Realm Origin. In other words, the Punishers in the Immortal Realm were just in name. They did not have the power to use the origin like the Punishers in the Cultivation World, and could not teleport back to the Immortal Realm at any time. In short, the Punishers in the Immortal Realm were just ordinary Punishers. Their strength was completely related to themselves and had nothing to do with the Immortal Realm. At least this was the case in the Yin Huang immortal realm. Moreover, Murong Yu also knew that the reason why the Punishers in the immortal realm were not recognized by the Origin was that they could not come into contact with the immortal realm Origin at all. The immortal realm Origin was actually divided into two parts. One part maintained the stability of the immortal realm, and this part was not accessible to all cultivators. The other part was divided into 36 parts and became the origin energy of the 36 cultivation worlds. In other words, the origin of the cultivation worlds was actually the origin of the immortal realm. However, after being divided into 36 parts, the origin of the immortal realm did not have any memory or ability of the origin of the immortal realm. Only when someone took control of the 36 cultivation realms and merged the origin energies of all the cultivation realms into one, would the origin energies of the cultivation realms return to their original state. In other words, it would be restored to the immortal realm origin. At this time, Murong Yu felt that the origin of the 36 cultivation worlds he controlled had also changed. All of them had changed from the original gray to gold, and were exactly the same as the origin of the origin in his Dantian. There was no difference. In addition, Murong Yu also felt the connection between himself and the Yin Huang immortal realm. That kind of connection was similar to his connection with the 36 cultivation realms. Murong Yu knew that he'd become the enforcer of the world of immortals. He was the absolute ruler of this world. Even if God descends, he would not be a match for Murong Yu. With just a thought, Murong Yu could kill those gods that had descended to the mortal world. Life and death in a single thought. The origin energy of the immortal world was billions of times more powerful than the origin energy of the cultivation world. Just the original power of the cultivation world was enough to kill gods, let alone the original power of the immortal world, which was billions of times stronger. Moreover, the origin energy of the immortal world possessed every ability of the cultivation world's origin energy. Murong Yu could use the origin power of the immortal world to teleport back to the immortal world from anywhere. Furthermore, the origin of the immortal world had many abilities that the origin of the immortal world did not have. Since that was the case, Murong Yu was not in a hurry for the time being. With his strength, Murong Yu could even kill someone 1,000,000 times stronger than him, let alone the young man who had suppressed Shenzhen. As long as he was willing, the young man could not kill anyone. I wonder if the other immortal worlds are the same? Half of the origin energy of the immortal world has become the power of the cultivation world. Murong Yu pondered. He knew that there were 3,000 immortal worlds below the immortal world. And below the immortal world, there were 36 cultivation realms. In other words, there was one immortal world, 3,000 immortal worlds, and 108,000 cultivation realms in this world. If I control 30 cultivation realms, I can become the enforcer of the immortal world and completely control the immortal world. Then what if I control the 3,000 immortal worlds? Will I be able to control the immortal world directly? If I become the enforcer of the immortal world, then I will really be invincible. No matter how strong or how old the god is, I can kill him like a dog. Of course, this was only Murong Yu's idea. He had no idea if the origin energy of the immortal world was the same as the immortal world. Even if that was the case, with Murong Yu's strength, he would not be able to control the immortal world. How could the 3,000 immortal worlds be so easy to control? Murong Yu had spent so much time controlling the 36 cultivation realms, let alone the 3,000 immortal worlds. If someone were to discover this, those super existences would be able to crush Murong Yu to death with a single finger. After all, if Murong Yu controlled the immortal world, then those people would become Murong Yu's subjects. Their lives would be in the hands of Murong Yu. Who would be willing to do that? After feeling the power of the immortal world's origin energy, Murong Yu's breakthrough came to an end. He was at the peak of the early immortal venerable realm, almost entering the intermediate immortal venerable realm. His realm was not very strong, far from those quasi-god realm experts. On the other hand, Murong Yu's strength had increased by several times, reaching 50 million Earth Dragons' power. I wonder how much strength a deity has. 50 million Earth Dragon power. I should be able to fight against the lowest level god, right? Muronyu laughed in his heart and stepped out of the immortal origin world and teleported back to the immortal world. After making a breakthrough in his strength, Muronyu couldn't wait to find someone to spar with. However, there was a god in the sky above the sage sect. This person was the best person to practice on. Immortal world above Shenzhen. The deity realm youth suddenly opened his eyes, and a trace of killing intent shot out from his eyes. 3 days have passed, and Muronyu still has not appeared. It seems like he does not care about you guys at all. Since that is the case, there is no value in your existence. All of you can go to hell. As he spoke, the youth had already stood up and reached out his hand, about to wipe out the entire Shenzhen. As long as his hand slammed down, the entire chaos Shenzhen would be wiped out, and not a single one would be left alive. Bullshit. The Sacred Lord treats us like family. If you want to kill, then kill, but don't talk nonsense here. Are you trying to drive a wedge between us and the Sacred Lord? You have the wrong idea. Just as the youth finished speaking, a sudden roar came from Shenzhen. That's right. The Sacred Lord's position in our hearts is unshakable. He better not appear. As long as he avoids this calamity, when he becomes stronger, he will kill you to avenge us. You and that bullshit force behind you will be trampled by the Sacred Lord in the future, and not a single chicken or dog will be left alive. If you want to kill us, then kill us. We are not afraid of death, so why are you talking nonsense here? For a moment, the Shenzhen was filled with curses, and the youth's face turned pale. He did not react for a moment. In that case, all of you can go to hell. Don't worry, after I kill you, I will kill everyone in this bullshit immortal realm. In your bullshit Sacred Lord Muron, you will not have the chance to avenge you, because I will kill him soon. The youth was filled with killing intent, and his hand was about to slam down. Is that so? You want to kill me? At this moment, a figure appeared in front of the youth out of thin air. It was really out of thin air. Even with the true God realm, the youth could not sense how Muronyu appeared. This was because there were no signs before Muronyu appeared, and even the void did not fluctuate. Sacred Lord, why are you here? You should not have appeared. After we die, you can avenge us. Sacred Lord, leave quickly. As long as you are still alive, we will have no regrets even if we die. Voices could be heard, and all of them were trying to persuade Muronyu to leave. Muronyu felt touched as he listened to the sincere words that came from the bottom of their hearts. It was not in vain that he had been fighting to make Shenzhen strong. Everything was worth it for these people to treat him like this. Leave? Where are you going? Since you have appeared, you can stay here forever. The youth looked at Muronyu indifferently, and his eyes were full of disdain. Everyone, please be quiet. I will not avenge you because you will not die. I will not allow any of you to die. None of you will die. The one who will die today is not us, but him. Moreover, I solemnly promise everyone here that whoever wants to kill us, whoever wants to destroy Shenzhen, will be trampled by us, regardless of whether it is a god or anything else. Hearing Murongyu's words, the people of Shenzhen fell silent. They chose to believe Muronyu. They believed without any conditions. They believed that Muronyu could do whatever he said. Ha ha ha! The young man burst into laughter. He pointed at Muronyu and laughed maniacally. You think you can do that? You are just an insignificant immortal? You really think too highly of yourself. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you have offended? Seeing that you are about to die, I am not afraid to tell you. I am a member of the Divine Union. Divine Union? Muronyu could not help but be shocked. He recalled what the youth had said before. It seemed like Muronyu had killed the physical body of their young master. There is also a divine union in the immortal world, and their union leader Ji was also a god, a fallen god. Could Ji be their young master? Does the divine union also have such a force in the immortal world? Muronyu thought to himself, but on the surface, he looked at the youth indifferently. Do you know what kind of existence the divine union is? It's like you definitely do not know. Let me tell you now. The divine union is a superpower even in the immortal world. If you offend the divine union, even if I cannot kill you today, you will not live to see tomorrow. If you dare to kill the physical body of the young master, the entire Yin Huang immortal world will be buried with him. Your young master is Ji? Murong Yu asked indifferently. Ji is our young master, the young master of the divine union. The youth said in a low voice. He's just a dead man. If I can kill him once, I can kill him a second time. Of course, the prerequisite is that he is still alive. Now you can die. Murong Yu laughed coldly. His body flickered and disappeared on the spot, charging towards the youth. Chapter 8:13. When he saw Murong Yu charging towards him, the divine union expert looked at him with disdain and did not take him seriously. However, he only moved when Murong Yu was in front of him. He stretched out his hand and punched gently at Murong Yu. Bang! The divine fist was invincible. It was extremely fast and arrived first. When Murong Yu was halfway there, the young man's punch landed heavily on Murong Yu's chest. Murong Yu was immediately sent flying like a broken rag doll. Ah! Shengzhen and the rest on the ground exclaimed when they saw this. Apart from Shengzhen and the rest, the young man from the divine world could not help but exclaim as well. This was because even though he didn't use his full strength, anyone below the deity realm would be crushed into a bloody mist. Not even a speck of dust would be left behind from this attack. However, when his punch landed on Murong Yu's body, not only did he not turn Murong Yu into dust, he did not even suffer any injuries. In fact, with Murong Yu's 50 million Earth Dragon power and strong physical body, he did not suffer any injuries even though he was punched by the young man. Moreover, even if he was injured, the life force in his body was quickly cleansed a few times and he immediately recovered to his peak. Moreover, it was impossible to kill him in the divine world. It was simply impossible. You can actually borrow 50% of my strength. It seems like you have some ability to destroy the young master's physical body. However, I don't know if you can take this punch of mine. A look of surprise flashed across the young man's eyes. However, it was only for a moment before it was replaced by a look of disdain. In his eyes, Murong Yu was still a native of a lower plane, an ant-like existence. Who would put ants in their eyes? He took a step forward, shattering a large part of the void. His figure flickered as he arrived in front of Murong Yu and punched out once more. This time, Murong Yu raised his strength to the limit and punched out at the same time. Rumble! The two men's fists collided with each other halfway, causing an earth-shattering explosion. This time, the young man's body couldn't help but sway slightly. Murong Yu was even more pitiful as he was sent flying again. After smashing through billions of space-time, he finally came to a stop tens of billions of miles away. He actually took my attack and didn't die. The young man's face revealed a hint of surprise, but more than that, there was a murderous intent and embarrassment. A mere ant was actually able to withstand 70% of his power without being injured. This made him feel extremely embarrassed. Now go to hell. Enraged, the young man's aura exploded forth. All of the world of immortals trembled as a terrifying aura swept out and suppressed everything in its path. Countless immortals and demonic beasts trembled under the pressure of this terrifying aura. It was to the extent that some people who were not strong enough were on the verge of exploding under this terrifying pressure. You're courting death. As the ruler of the world of immortals, Murong Yu naturally knew what the world of immortals and its many lives were currently enduring. How could he allow the young man to act so impudently in the world of immortals? With a furious roar, Murong Yu's expression turned solemn. In the name of Murong Yu, ruler of the world of immortals, I bestow stability to the world of immortals. I bestow freedom to all life. All external pressure will vanish without a trace. Murong Yu's faint and cool voice wasn't loud, but it strangely echoed through every inch of space in the world of immortals. Be it immortals, monster spirits, or other life forms, everyone in the world of immortals heard Murong Yu's words with unparalleled clarity. Moreover, Every life form in the world of immortals realized that even before Murong Yu's voice had finished, the trembling world of immortals had stabilized. Those who'd been on the verge of exploding from the young man's terrifying aura suddenly felt the pressure on them vanish at some point. The world of immortals returned to normal and no longer had any powerful aura. They'd all regained their freedom. They all knew that the one who'd done all this was none other than Murong Yu, ruler of the world of immortals. Ruler of the world of immortals. Ruler of the world of immortals. Without the terrifying pressure weighing down on them, those of the world of immortals felt as if they'd just returned from the gates of hell. While they rejoiced, they were also incomparably grateful to Murong Yu, ruler of the world of immortals. Unknowingly, the hearts of the people fell in love with Murong Yu. At this moment, the three words Murong Yu were imprinted in the hearts of many immortals and even monster spirits. They all knew that Murong Yu would be their guardian, the ruler of the world of immortals. Ruler of the world of immortals? You're the ruler of the world of immortals? Do you know that there's never a true ruler in the world of immortals? No one can control the world of immortals. Do you think this is the world of cultivation? Hearing Murong Yu's words, the young man couldn't help but laugh out loud, his tone full of ridicule. However, the expression on his face soon froze. This was because he saw that Shengzhen and the rest, who'd been suppressed by his aura and couldn't move at all, had now regained their freedom. This is impossible. The young man turned pale with fright. With a single thought, an incomparably powerful aura suddenly pressed down on Shengzhen like a tidal wave. However, the young man was horrified to discover that his aura was constantly weakening after it left his body. In the end, when it was less than 10 meters away, his incomparably powerful aura disappeared without a trace. It had completely disappeared. Could he really be the ruler of the world of immortals? How is this possible? The world of immortals has never had a true ruler. No one can control the world of immortals. Not even a god can. The young man roared in his heart. He would rather die than believe that Murong Yu was the ruler of the world of immortals. In the true god realm, even the trashiest god has at least 100 million Earth Dragon power. 50 million Earth Dragon power. If I hadn't become the ruler of the world of immortals, I'm afraid I would have been killed by this young man with a single punch. However, since I'm the ruler of the world of immortals, he has to die. Who cares if he's from the divine union? Murong Yu thought in his heart. His eyes flashed coldly as traces of killing intent spread out. Whether you believe it or not, I'm the ruler of the world of immortals. Now, you can die for me. Murong Yu took a step forward, appeared in front of the young man, and slammed his palm down. Instantly, the young man felt an incomparably strong aura of death. The young man was horrified. He knew that he would definitely die if Murong Yu's palm hit him. Run! Since Murong Yu was the ruler of the world of immortals, the young man knew that even if he was 1,000,000 times stronger, he wouldn't be a match for Murong Yu. Immediately, he wanted to escape back to the divine world. As long as he reported that Murong Yu was the ruler of the world of immortals, not only would he not be punished, but he would also be heavily rewarded. However, since Murong Yu was the ruler of the world of immortals, how could he let the young man escape? Spread the news that he was the ruler of the world of immortals? The best way was to make a fortune silently. Therefore, he used the power of the ruler of the world of immortals. In an instant, the young man felt that he was confined to the spot by a force. He couldn't struggle, and even his strength was restrained. At the same time, Murong Yu slammed his palm down. Bang! The young man let out a miserable cry as he was smashed into a bloody mist by Murong Yu's palm. A true god expert didn't even have the chance to escape. He was killed by Murong Yu with a single palm strike. In fact, even a stronger true god wouldn't be a match for Murong Yu in the world of immortals. Murong Yu only needed a thought to kill them. Is this a godhead? The blood mist dissipated, but a 2-finger-wide, finger-long, square-shaped object that emitted a faint white glow remained in the air. It hadn't been killed by Murong Yu. Murong Yu reached out and grabbed the object that looked like a godhead. What a surging power! I heard that a godhead is the hardest thing on the body of a true god. Ordinary people can't break it. This must be a godhead. The power contained within is truly terrifying. Ordinary quasi-gods wouldn't even be a fraction of 1 in 100 million. Murong Yu's face was filled with shock at the power of the divine spark. When Murong Yu killed the young man, a young man from the divine union flew into a rage. Trash! You're all trash. Not only was a god unable to kill Murong Yu in a low-level plane like the celestial realm, he even got himself killed. Trash, good for nothing. If Murong Yu was here, he would definitely be shocked. This was because the person in front of him was exactly the same as the Jishur he killed. However, the aura on him was many times stronger than the Jishur in the immortal realm. Send people down immediately. We must kill Murong Yu and destroy the entire immortal realm. Leave no one alive. The young man roared for a while before giving another order. He actually wanted to destroy the entire Yanhuang immortal realm. This showed how cruel this person was and how much hatred he had for Murong Yu. However, no one in the immortal realm knew that they were about to face a great crisis. The godhood contains extremely pure divine power. One godhood is comparable to trillions of grade 9 immortal meridians. It can be used to accelerate time in the Hichu Luo Shu. Murong Yu thought and threw the godhood into the Hichu Luo Shu world. If the true gods in the immortal realm knew that Murong Yu had used a godhood as a source of energy, they would definitely kill him. If he used it to accelerate time, countless people would want to kill Murong Yu. After all, in the immortal realm, the godhood was a supreme existence. The pure divine power contained within it could be used for cultivation. Directly absorbing the power of the godhood to cultivate was much more effective than absorbing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth or other methods of cultivation. It could be said to be twice the result with half the effort. The master of the immortal realm. From now on, the immortal realm will have no worries. Murong Yu took a deep breath and appeared in the Shenzhen world in a flash. In an instant, countless people crowded around Murong Yu, each and every one of them looking at him with admiring gazes. Chapter 814. In my name, I forbid all experts above the immortal realm to descend. After killing the experts of the divine union, Murong Yu knew that the immortal realm was not so safe now. Of course, if Murong Yu was in the immortal realm, he would not be attacked in the immortal realm. However, what if Murong Yu was not in the immortal realm? He would ascend to the immortal realm sooner or later, although he could teleport back to the immortal realm at any time. However, if someone from the immortal realm wanted to destroy the immortal realm, it would only take an instant. If Murong Yu happened to be delayed by something, then the immortal world would be in for a tragedy if he was even a split second late. Therefore, Murong Yu used his name as the master of the immortal realm to set a series of new rules. One of the rules was that quasi-gods could not descend to the immortal realm. In other words, those who had reached the immortal realm could not enter the immortal realm. In this way, no gods could enter the immortal realm. As long as there were no gods, no matter how many people came, they would not be a threat. After all, the immortal realm was not the immortal realm of the past. Now, there were many quasi-gods. Of course, Murong Yu was the master of the immortal realm. Although he had set this rule, it was not a problem for him to return to the immortal realm. Moreover, with Murong Yu's permission, the others could also return to the immortal realm. Immortal realm. Young master, we can't enter the Yanhuang immortal realm. We can't open the passage to the Yanhuang immortal realm at all. An expert of the divine union said to their young master, the Ji family, "Trash. Useless. You can't even open the passage to the immortal realm. What's the use of keeping you?" The Ji family roared angrily, wanted to slap the trash in front of him to death. "Young master, this is not our problem. Even a sky realm expert can't open the passage. It is said that the entire Yanhuang immortal realm is sealed. Unless we destroy it from the outside, we can't open the passage." Sealed? Don't tell me they can't ascend? The Ji family's face was ferocious. "Young master, they can still ascend. They can ascend to the divine realm, but the people of the divine realm can't descend. Fine. Go to the ascension platform of the Yin Huang immortal realm and monitor it for me. If you see anyone ascending from the Yin Huang immortal realm, take them down. Ji said murderously, following which the people of the Divine Alliance went to make arrangements. They had to monitor the people of the Yin Huang immortal world near the ascension platform. If anyone ascended, they would fall into the hands of the Divine Alliance. These immortal realms are truly safe. I can also cultivate without worry. Murong Yu laid down a series of rules that protected the entire immortal realm and the 36 cultivation realms like an iron bucket. Only then did he feel relieved. Although I can trigger the divine tribulation right now, and I'm confident that I can pass the divine tribulation without using the tribulation transcendence pill, I can't do anything about it. However, there's no need to rush. I'll wait until my cultivation base reaches the peak of the late immortal venerable realm. The more powerful one is, the more powerful one will be after transcending the tribulation and ascending to godhood. In order to avoid being looked down upon and bullied like an ant, the only way was to become stronger. It would be best if I could reach the Master God realm directly. In fact, Murong Yu wasn't only doing this because of the Divine Alliance. In the Divine Realm, the Divine Alliance was also a superpower. Since Murong Yu had killed Ji's physical body, it was obvious that the Divine Alliance wouldn't let him go. Moreover, besides the Divine Alliance, there was also the Heavenly Punisher Palace in the Immortal Realm. Perhaps there were demonic sects, immortal palaces, and sacred sects in the Divine Realm. Murong Yu had destroyed these forces and wiped out their legacies. Naturally, these forces wouldn't let Murong Yu go either. When others cultivate, I cultivate too. When others ascend, I ascend too. However, why do I always provoke some powerful forces before I ascend? Murong Yu thought helplessly. However, he soon laughed it off. Back in the cultivation realm, weren't the giants like the immortal palaces and demonic sex existences that I had to look up to? Aren't they being trampled under my feet now? So what if the forces in the divine realm are strong? One day, I will trample them all under my feet too. Anyway, no matter where I go, the world will be conquered and flattened by me. Murong Yu had entered the cultivation realm from a trash in the mortal world. He had killed so many people in the cultivation realm that blood flowed like a river. In the end, he had even unified the cultivation realm. After he had ascended, he had also created a bloodbath in the immortal realm before finally unifying the immortal realm. Murong Yu's current goal was to unify the divine realm. Whoosh! Murong Yu's figure flashed, and he arrived in the southern mountains. Senior, it's about time you tell me about the Mirage sect, right? I realize that you hate that person from the Divine Alliance very much. Could it be that the Phantom sect was destroyed because of the Divine Alliance? Was the Divine Alliance the main culprit, or was the Divine Alliance one of the accomplices? The person who had looked at the Divine Alliance powerhouse with hatred in the southern mountains was the remnant soul of the Phantom sect. However, he hadn't done anything back then. Murong had seen all of this. The Divine Alliance was the main culprit who destroyed the Phantom sect. They wanted to obtain the army word formula. If possible, I hope that you can destroy the Divine Alliance. Then, you wouldn't have received the inheritance of the army word formula in vain. The remnant soul of the Phantom sect appeared beside Murong Yu like a ghost. His deep voice rang in Murong Yu's ears. However, the Phantom sect's influence in the divine realm is very strong. If you don't have the strength, it's better not to provoke them. Don't waste your life in vain. Senior, don't worry. One day, I will destroy the entire Divine Alliance. Murong Yu smiled. After chatting with the remnant soul for a while, he left the southern mountains. If Murong Yu didn't take the initiative to provoke the Divine Alliance, the people of the Divine Alliance wouldn't let him off either. Since that was the case, he might as well destroy the entire Divine Alliance. That way, there wouldn't be any trouble. He could also take revenge for the Phantom sect. After all, Murong Yu's army word formula had been passed down from the Phantom sect. In fact, he had a master-disciple relationship with the Phantom sect. In the following time, Murong Yu started to cultivate wholeheartedly. During this process, Murong had returned to the Huaxia cultivation world and wanted to enter the Tomb of the Gods. However, Murong had discovered that he couldn't enter the Tomb of the Gods given his current strength. Back then, Ji Luo had said that he could enter the Tomb of the Gods. He didn't know if that was a lie or if he had other methods. However, Murong didn't care much about the Tomb of the Gods. Since he couldn't enter, he wouldn't go in for the time being. In any case, the Tomb of the Gods was right there. He would just have to wait until he was strong enough to enter. In the 100th year after Murong became the ruler of the immortal realm, he finally married Zhao Jiqing, Yu Mengqing, and Murong Liyue into the Murong family. The three women officially became the daughters-in-law of the Murong family. The aura of the ruler of the immortal realm and his status was high. It could be said that he was above everyone else. Murong Yu's marriage this time could be said to be a great celebration. The entire immortal realm celebrated happily for a full 3 years. Furthermore, during these 3 years, Murong had constantly sent out wedding candies that belonged to him. Almost everyone, regardless of whether they were disciples of Shenzhen or not, had received a king-breaking pill, a monarch-breaking pill, and a king-breaking pill. How many people were there in the entire immortal realm? Murong didn't know. He only knew that he had prepared for a full year for these pills. With his current strength, how many king-breaking pills could he refine in a year? Countless trillions of pills in a day. However, all of this was worth it. This was because he was very happy to see Zhao Jiqing and the other two women. They were very happy. As long as the three women were happy, everything would be fine. Father, mother, I brought these 3 daughters-in-law back to see you. In the Huaxia world of self-cultivators, Murong brought Zhao Jiqing and the other 2 women back to pay respects to his deceased parents. Murong parents had died early. It was because of their early deaths that Murong had fallen to the point where he couldn't even be compared to the servants of the Murong family. However, Murong didn't resent his parents. In fact, he often missed his parents. Moreover, even if his parents were still alive, Murong situation in the Murong family wouldn't be very good. After all, his parent status in the Murong family wasn't very good. Father, mother, I've come back to see you again. Zhao Jiqing and the other 2 women kowtowed 3 times in front of the graves of Murong parents. Then Zhao Jiqing said, Zhao Jiqing, when she was in the secular world, would come here to pay her respects on the anniversary of her parents' death. Now that she had become the daughter-in-law of the Murong family, she was even more respectful to Murong parents. Well, when I have the strength in the future, I will definitely bring my parents back to life. At that time, you can show your filial piety in front of them. Murong laughed in his heart, but he had made a decision in his heart. Xiaoyu, now that you're married, when are you going to have a child? You've seen through my eyes, and your parents definitely want to see you carry on the family line as soon as possible. At this time, Ligua's voice came. This time, Murong came back with Ligua's family. Haha, we will definitely work hard on this matter. Uncle Li, you don't have to worry. Murong laughed, but Zhao Jiqing and the other 2 women blushed with shame. In the following days, as Murong said, he began to work hard to make a baby. At the same time, in the process, he kept cultivating. In the 100th year after they got married, Zhao Jiqing finally had a child. However, what made Murong depressed was that their strength was too strong. It was impossible to give birth to a child after 10 months of pregnancy. From the time of pregnancy to the birth of a child, the fastest time was hundreds of years, and some were even longer. However, time was not a problem for Murong and the others. Hundreds of years passed in the blink of an eye. In addition to Zhao Jiqing, Yu Mengqing and Mu Liyue were not far behind, and they got pregnant one after another. Chapter 8:15. How is it? How is it? Immortal world, Shenzhen. Murong and the others were gathered outside a courtyard. Murong face was filled with anxiety, but there was also a hint of excitement in his anxiety. He kept pacing back and forth in front of everyone, saying some meaningless word from time to time. Murong had never acted like this before. When the others saw Murong acting like this, they couldn't help but snicker. Little Yu, why are you so anxious? Isn't it just sister-in-law giving birth today? Li Feng walked over and teased Muronyu. Muronyu glared at Li Feng and said, "Don't think that I don't know what you were like back then. You were even more anxious than I am now. Okay?" Li Feng laughed mischievously and turned his head to look elsewhere. "Uncle, I don't know why you were so anxious. You are the lord of the immortal world. You didn't even get nervous when facing the gods of the divine union." Li Ling curled his lips and said with some confusion, "How is this the same? I am looking forward to it. This is the nervousness of being a father. Ask your father. He was different back then." Muronyu also knew that he was a little too nervous, but no matter what, he couldn't calm down. "Kid, you're not young anymore. When are you going to find me a wife?" Li Feng glared at him, and Li Ling was so scared that he fled with a whoosh. All these years, he was afraid of his father and often forced him to get a wife. This made Li Ling very speechless. "Murong, don't worry. With big sister Jiqing's strength, nothing will happen to her. You can rest assured." Mu Liyue and Yu Mengqing snickered inwardly when they saw how nervous Muronyu was. As they snickered, they also felt a trace of happiness. Muronyu was worried about Zhao, Jiqing, and the child that was about to be born. They all knew that if they were about to give birth, Muronyu would be the same. "Okay, I'm not nervous. You two stay there and rest. Don't disturb the baby." Muronyu smiled. "Wah, wah." At this moment, a loud and vigorous cry of a baby came from the room in the courtyard. Hearing this cry, Murongyu's body shook violently. He knew that his first child was finally born. "Congratulations, Holy Lord. The child is a son." At that moment, a midwife rushed out to report the good news to Muronyu. Muronyu was overjoyed and was about to rush in. However, at this moment, another loud cry came from inside the house. From the sound of it, it didn't seem to be a baby boy, but a baby girl's crying. This, Murongyu's face in an instant. What was going on with the crying of a baby boy and then a baby girl? "Congratulations, Holy Lord. Madam gave birth to twins, a dragon and a phoenix." The midwife's surprised voice came. "Twins?" Murongyu's heart shook violently, and then he was ecstatic. "Haha, it's actually twins." Everyone was overjoyed and hurriedly congratulated Muronyu. Yu Mengqing and Mu Liyue were also very happy, but there was also a hint of envy in their happiness. Not long after, the midwife came out with the two babies. Zhao Jiqing also came out very quickly. With Zhao Jiqing's strength at the immortal venerable realm, giving birth to a child would not affect her body at all. "Come, let me carry the child." Muronyu rushed forward and carried one of the babies over. "Wah!" Muronyu had just carried the baby over when the baby started crying. Of course, he was not carrying this baby, but the other one. "Father is biased. I want to be carried too." A tender voice came out, causing the surrounding people to laugh. Without any hesitation, Muronyu carried the pair of twins over to him. As for the babies being able to speak as soon as they were born, none of them found it strange. After all, they had been in their mother's womb for a whole 1,000 years. During this long period, Muronyu had done his best to nurture them and temper their bodies. After 1,000 years of tempering, their bodies and aptitudes must have reached a heaven-defying level. In this way, it was normal for them to be able to speak. Both of them are in the immortal monarch realm. Everyone came over. Suddenly, someone inadvertently looked at the realms of the twins and could not help but exclaim. The twins had crossed countless realms as soon as they were born and directly reached the immortal monarch realm. They had saved countless years of cultivation and were among the strongest in the immortal world as soon as they were born. With such a realm and aptitude, it would not be long before they broke through to the immortal emperor realm or even the immortal monarch realm, quasi-god realm, or even god realm. "Little you, do the children have names?" Ligua walked up and looked at the twins in Murongyu's arms with a kind expression. At the same time, he asked Muronyu, "I didn't think they would be twins this time, but I thought of a name for each boy and girl." Muronyu smiled. Perhaps, seeing this, some people would find it strange. With their strength, even if the children had not been born, it should not be difficult to know if they were twins or if they were boys or girls, right? Indeed, it was not difficult to know their gender. One only needed to scan with one's divine sense. However, that would not be a surprise. If one knew the gender of the children early on, how could there be a surprise when they were born? Therefore, in the entire Shenzhen, before the twins were born, no one knew their gender. Even Zhao Jiqing did not know. The brother will be called Murong Xian, and the sister will be called Murong Yan, Murong Yu said with a smile. Okay, I have a name. My name is Murong Yan. Brother, you'll be called Murong Xian. The twins clapped their little hands, looking very happy. In a flash, 10 years had passed. In 10 years, Murong Xian and Murong Yan were already 10 years old. Their aptitude was indeed heaven-defying. It could be said that no one had ever done it before. At the age of 10, they both broke through to the immortal emperor realm. A 10-year-old immortal emperor. It had never appeared in the history of the immortal world. They were definitely the most monstrous geniuses. When the twins were 20 years old, their strength had already reached the late-stage immortal emperor realm and was about to enter the immortal monarch realm. The speed at which their strength soared made countless people feel ashamed. At this time, Murong Yu's third child was finally born. It was a girl named Murong Lin. Her mother was Yu Mengqing. Murong Lin's aptitude was probably not inferior to the twins at all. When she was born, she was also at the immortal monarch realm. Countless people were envious. Then, 5 years later, Murong Yu's fourth child, Murong Yi, was finally willing to leave his mother's womb and was born at this time. When he was born, he was also at the immortal monarch realm. The 4 children were all at the immortal monarch realm when they were born. With such heaven-defying aptitude, even Murong Yu could not help but be jealous. Of course, they could be where they were today entirely because of Murong Yu. Otherwise, even if their parents were at the immortal monarch realm, when they were born, their strength would reach the high immortal realm or profound immortal realm. They would be considered as absolute geniuses. This was because Murong Yu was the lord of the immortal world. Moreover, he had the heavenly punishment writ, life force, and various other treasures. These treasures had been used to temper their bodies when they were still in their mother's womb. Otherwise, when Murong Xian and the others were born, their strength would have reached the golden immortal realm. It would have been impossible for them to reach the immortal monarch realm, which was a heaven-defying realm. Over the past 1,000 years, Murong Yu's cultivation had also increased by leaps and bounds. His realm had already broken through the peak of the mid-stage immortal monarch realm and was about to enter the late-stage immortal monarch realm. Furthermore, his strength had reached 80 million earthly dragon power. This was a total of 30 million more earth dragon power than before. Murong Yu believed that as long as he entered the late-stage immortal monarch realm, his strength would reach 100 million earth dragon points. In fact, when he cultivated to the Great Circle realm, it was very likely that he would reach 100 million earth dragon points. Back then, the deity that descended from the divine union had a strength of around 100 million earth dragon points. 5,000 years after Murong Yu became the lord of the immortal world, his realm finally broke through to the late-stage immortal monarch realm. His strength had also increased to 100 million earth dragon points. After another 1,000 years, Murong Yu's realm had reached the peak of the late-stage immortal monarch realm. His earth dragon points had exceeded 100 million and reached 130 million. In the 7,000th year, Murong Yu had stepped into the quasi-god realm. This was the true quasi-god realm, not the power of the previous quasi-god realm. His strength had increased to 150 million. In the 8,000th year, Murong Yu had reached the mid-stage quasi-god realm. With 200 million earth dragon points, it was very terrifying. He had already surpassed the deity that descended from the divine world. In the 9,000th year, Murong Yu's realm and strength had reached the true limit. The peak of the late-stage quasi-god realm, 300 million earth dragon points. After this realm, unless he went to the divine world to continue cultivating, his strength and realm would never increase if he continued to stay in the immortal world. Murong Yu knew that it was finally time for him to leave the immortal world and ascend to the divine world. It was true that he was an invincible existence in the immortal world and had a happy family. However, Moronu still wanted to pursue the pinnacle of strength. After all, no matter how strong an immortal was, there was still a limit to his lifespan. What he wanted was the pinnacle of strength, the heavenly Tao, and even immortality. Only by being immortal and indestructible could they be together forever. Now, once their lifespan was exhausted, they would die. Moronu cherished the people around him very much. Therefore, he would not let any of his family or friends die. Therefore, he wanted to become even stronger and let the people around him become stronger with him. In the end, he would become immortal and become the pinnacle existence in this world. In 1,000 years, I will undergo the tribulation. After I succeed, I will ascend to the divine world. In the last 1,000 years, I will accompany them. Chapter 8:16. Immortal Realm, Primordial Wilderness Continent, Ascension City. The Ascension City was where the Ascension Platform was located. In the Immortal Realm, there were many similar Ascension Cities on many continents, and each Ascension City corresponded to one or more Immortal Realms. When these people who ascended from the Immortal World tore the passageway between the God Realm and the Immortal World and entered the passageway to ascend to the God Realm, they would be attracted by a special force of the God Realm, which would allow them to appear directly on the Ascension Platform. It was not like when a mortal ascended to the Immortal World and appeared in the Immortal World. In the Ascension City, 3 huge altars stood there. There was no one around, and it was very quiet. These huge altars were the Ascension Platforms. All of a sudden, one of the 3 Ascension altars that had been silent for a long time suddenly flashed with 7-colored light. Instantly, everyone in the Ascension City saw the rainbow light. How many years has it been? Finally, someone has ascended. Seeing the Ascension Platform flashing with divine light, countless people looked towards the Ascension Platform. At the same time, some people even started to fly towards the Ascension Platform. Let's go and see which immortal realm did someone ascend from. Is it the Mystic Dragon Immortal Realm or the Tai Mo Immortal Realm? Although the Ascension City was not big, there were still many immortals living here. And after seeing the Ascension Platform flashing with golden light, many people were curious and rushed towards the center of the city where the Ascension Platform was. A pity that the Mystic Dragon Immortal Realm and the Tai Mo Immortal Realm are both large immortal realms, and people often ascend. However, other continents also have their Ascension Platforms. Our primordial wilderness continent is too weak, and our godly power cannot pull them to our Ascension Platform. Someone shook his head helplessly. Some Ascension Platforms of the immortal realms were not only found in one place, but in many different places. Moreover, on the higher level continents, they were even more powerful. People who ascended from the same immortal realm would often be pulled to stronger continents. Are you sure it's a Mystic Dragon Immortal Realm or the Tai Mo Immortal Realm that ascended, and not the Yin Huang Immortal Realm? You have to know that the Yin Huang Immortal Realm only has one Ascension Platform. Huh? You mean the Yin Huang Immortal Realm? The trashiest immortal realm among the 3,000 immortal realms? No one has ascended to the immortal world for many years. I wonder if they have all gone extinct, someone said with a laugh. The Yin Huang Immortal Realm is extinct? I don't think so. Look, isn't that Ascender from the Yin Huang Immortal Realm? Someone suddenly pointed at the Ascension Platform and laughed. At this moment, only the central platform flickered with light out of the 3 huge platforms in the city. At the same time, a black-robed young man stood on the platform in confusion. He's really someone who ascended from the Yin Huang Immortal Realm. Could it be that the Immortal Realm hasn't been destroyed yet? Someone asked in confusion, but who would have an answer for him? This is the God Realm. Moronu stood on the Ascension Platform and scanned his surroundings. It was definitely similar to the God Realm. Moreover, what made him most oppressed was that everyone around him was looking at him with incomparably astonished eyes. Do I look different from them? But everyone had black hair, black eyes, and yellow skin. How is it different? However, Why were they looking at him with such astonishment? Kid, you're the one who ascended? You ascended from the Yin Huang immortal realm? At this moment, a loud roar came from afar. Then a group of people with murderous auras rushed over from afar. Everywhere they passed, the passers-by gave way. It's young Master Lingu. Seeing the group of murderous people coming over, the surrounding people retreated to the sides, their faces showing their anger but not daring to speak. A young man around the age of 25 appeared on the ascension stage. With an arrogant expression, he looked at Murong Yu and indifferently said, "Brat, I'll give you a chance. Become my servant, and I'll nurture you so that you can condense your godhead and divine body as soon as possible. Otherwise, your good days will come to an end." As he spoke, the lackeys beside him stared at Murong Yu with murderous gazes, revealing their murderous intent. Perhaps, as long as Murong Yu said no, they would immediately kill Murong Yu. Feeling the powerful aura from the group, Murong Yu took a deep breath, dissipating the anger and endless murderous intent in his heart. He smiled at young Master Linghu and asked mildly, "Before that, can I ask you a question? You want to ask why I want to take you as my servant? It's simple because you're an ascender. Ascenders have great potential, even greater than the majority of people in the immortal realm. In the God realm, almost every ascender is the target of the various large sects and clans fighting over their disciples. In the primordial continent, the Ascension City Lord is one of the strongest forces. Do you know who I am? Young Master Linghu. Who is young Master Linghu? The Ascension City Lord is my father. Therefore, if you become my servant, I'll nurture you. I'll let you become the strongest existence in the primordial continent in a short period of time." Young Master Linghu said mildly. His tone was filled with self-righteous arrogance. "So it's another spoiled brat. His strength is only SOSO, and he only knows how to intimidate others." Murong Yu sneered in his heart. Looking at the people around him, his face sank. He had just ascended, and his divine body had yet to condense. Most importantly, he had yet to condense a godhead. In the immortal realm, those without a godhead were the lowest existences. Anyone with a godhead could kill him. When ordinary people ascended to the immortal realm, they would either be recruited by various sects to cultivate, or find a secret place to condense a godhead and divine body. Once they became gods, their potential could be unleashed. Is the city lord very powerful? Murong Yu could not help but ask. My father is one of the strongest people in the primordial continent, reaching the pinnacle of the true god realm. The city lord residence is naturally one of the strongest forces in the primordial continent. All right, enough nonsense. Quickly become my servant and follow me back to the city lord residence. Young Master Linghu waved his hand impatiently, as if he felt that he had spoken too much today. In truth, young Master Linghu was also very excited. He was very envious of the potential of ascenders, and had long wanted to take one as a servant. However, of the 3 ascension platforms in the Ascension City, 2 of them corresponded to the immortal realm. When they ascended, they were taken to other continents. Almost no one from the Flame Yellow continent had ascended. At the very least, young Master Linghu had never seen anyone from the Flame Yellow immortal realm ascend. Now that he saw Murong Yu, how could he not be happy? A mere quasi-god. As long as I condense a godhead, I should be able to kill him. You want to take me as your servant? You must be tired of living. Murong Yu's killing intent surged. Immediately, he jumped off the ascension platform and walked to the side. Kid, where are you going? Young Master Linghu's face darkened. Sorry, I'm not interested in becoming your servant. Murong Yu smiled coldly. If young Master Linghu had kindly invited Murong Yu to join the city lord residence, perhaps he would have reluctantly agreed. But to take him in as a servant? It was already good enough that Murong Yu didn't kill him on the spot. Are you toying with me? Damn it, take him down and beat him half to death. I'll take control of his soul. Young Master Linghu roared in anger. Immediately, the deity-ranked servants beside him charged towards Murong Yu with flickering figures. Their auras surged, and their killing intent spread, enveloping the area around the ascension platform. Even the weakest god is so strong. He's a million times stronger than a quasi-god. Murong Yu's expression turned serious. He had just ascended. Although he was strong, he didn't have the confidence to kill a god in the realm of the gods. Moreover, it seemed that this wasn't as simple as a mere god. Young Masterling Hu, don't go overboard. Otherwise, it won't be good for either of us. Murong Yu secretly raised his strength to the limit, while speaking to young Masterling Hu. Knock on my ass. Take him down. Don't beat him to death. I want him to be my servant. Young Masterling Hu roared. Damn you. Murong Yu was furious. His body flashed, and he took a step forward, then flew towards the city gates. He couldn't stay in Ascension City any longer. It was obvious that the city lord residents had the upper hand. Everyone else was angry, but they didn't dare say anything. The only thing he could do now was to leave Ascension City and find a place to condense a godhead. Where do you think you're going? Seeing that Murong Yu was about to escape, young Master Ling Hu's men chased after him. At the true god realm, he still couldn't fly. However, as a true god, their speed was still extremely fast. Even though Murong Yu had increased his speed to the limit, he was still only slightly ahead of them. Murong Yu grumbled in his heart. The difference in cultivation level is too great. Immortals have a natural advantage over immortals. If we were at the same cultivation level, why would I need to run? I'm a master of the Yin Huang immortal realm, and now I'm being chased after by a few weaklings. This is infuriating. Murong Yu was furious. He wanted to turn around and fight with these people, and even kill young Master Ling Hu. But he knew that if he killed young Master Ling Hu in Ascension City, he would die without a doubt. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The group was extremely fast. They rushed out of Ascension City like streaks of light and rushed towards the mountains in the distance. Once they entered the endless mountains, these people who couldn't fly naturally wouldn't be able to find Murong Yu. Once Murong Yu condensed his godhead and immortal body, he would return to Ascension City and kill young Master Ling Hu and the others. Chapter 817. However, while the idea was good, reality was cruel. Not far from the city was an endless stretch of mountains. Even though it was only tens of millions of miles away, Murong Yu still felt like such a long distance. Murong Yu had just rushed out of the city when young Master Ling Hu's men chased after him. Especially among them, the true god realm should be the strongest. In a flash, he had already rushed behind Murong Yu and slapped his hand towards Murong Yu. The space in the divine world was many times stronger than the immortal world. Ordinary true gods would not be able to break through the void of the divine world. However, the person who attacked was very powerful. Although he could not break through the void, he was able to create a series of explosions in the void. He's at least a middle true god. Murong Yu was filled with killing intent. In the divine world, those who could condense the divine world were called true gods. True gods were the lowest level of existence among all the true gods. Among the true gods, there was the true god realm. In the Yuan Huang continent, true god realm experts, such as the city lord of the Ascension City, were definitely the overlords of the Yuan Huang continent. Murong Yu's figure flickered as he dodged his opponent's attack in an instant. In the divine world, true gods' attacks were many times stronger than quasi-gods, but their attack range was not large. After all, the space here was greatly suppressed. True gods could not even fly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The group of people chased and fled. Soon, they were far away from the Ascension City. However, Murong Yu was not familiar with the divine world. He had just ascended, and the divine world had a certain degree of suppression on him. Although his speed was fast, it was not too fast. He could not shake off the people chasing after him. Damn it, I might as well go all the way and kill them all. Since I just ascended to the divine world, I have nothing. I'll just take their godhood and use it as a source of power. Murong Yu was furious. His body flickered, and he suddenly stopped running. A dignified lord of the immortal world was being chased by a piece of trash. This made him very angry. Kid, you're finally not running? You know that you can't escape, right? Let me tell you, this area is filled with the forces of Ascension City. Even if you escape into the Divine Mountain, I can still let the true body-level powerhouses of Ascension City find you. Then control your soul and become my most loyal servant. Princeling Hu also caught up. His strength wasn't bad. He should have reached the middle true god realm. Murong Yu looked at young Master Ling Hu with a gloomy face and said coldly, "You think you've got me? This place is already a certain distance away from the Ascension City. Even if I kill you here, your city lord father might not know about it, right?" Ha ha ha. Prince Ling Hu suddenly burst into laughter. He thought that Murong Yu was too funny. An ascender who had yet to condense a godhead and condense a god body dared to boast about killing him, a mid-true god? If this was not a joke, then what was? If that's the case, then I'll show you what a true god is. I'll let you know the difference between a mortal and a true god. All of you back off. Prince Ling Hu sneered and ordered the guards to back off. Step by step, he walked towards Murong Yu. Seeing Prince Ling Hu walking towards him, Murong Yu's face turned serious. He didn't think that true gods were much stronger than him. In fact, he was stronger than most true gods. 300 million Earth Dragon power. However, Murong Yu also knew that the difference between true gods and immortals was huge. Everyone below true gods were mortals, not only in terms of status, but also in terms of strength. Among immortals, the highest quality of strength was the Earth Dragon power. After becoming a true god, their strength would turn into the Azure Dragon power. Moreover, those who condensed a godhead were recognized by the divine realm. Unknowingly, true gods could borrow a certain amount of strength from the divine realm. In other words, the divine realm had a strengthening effect on true gods. In this situation, since both sides were true gods, there was no suppression effect. However, Murong Yu hadn't condensed a godhead yet and hadn't been recognized by the divine realm. In fact, the divine realm had a certain degree of suppression on him. As a result, Murong Yu's situation was extremely disadvantageous to him. In fact, Murong Yu couldn't even unleash all of his strength. However, Murong Yu thought that his current strength was more than enough to deal with an ordinary true god. Boom! Murong Yu hardened his heart and took a step forward. The enormous force of his step created a deep crater in the ground. Borrowing the force from the crater, Murong Yu soared into the air and threw a punch at Ling Hu Gongzi. "You're overestimating yourself." Prince Ling Hu sneered and threw a punch. However, he only used a little of his strength. He didn't want to kill Murong Yu. He wanted to subdue Murong Yu and make him his servant. How great was the potential of an ascender? He could even nurture Murong Yu into an expert surpassing the true god realm in a short period of time. By then, the City Lord Mansion would become the true overlord of the primordial continent. However, Prince Ling Hu's face changed quickly. He felt a sense of threat from Murong Yu's aura. Just as he was about to increase his strength, Murong Yu's punch landed on his fist. Bang! Young Master Ling Hu seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. A huge force surged, and Prince Ling Hu's body shook violently. He was sent flying. So, this is all a true god can do. Murong Yu sneered and took a step forward. His invincible divine fist chased after Prince Ling Hu. This was his first time fighting with a true god realm expert. In the beginning, he didn't have much confidence in himself. After all, he was just an immortal, while Prince Ling Hu was a true god. Murong Yu instinctively felt that his opponent was stronger than him. Therefore, he wasn't prepared to fight at the beginning. But now, after exchanging blows, he realized that true gods weren't that strong. In fact, true gods, even the weakest true gods, were many times stronger than immortals. They could crush an ascender with a single finger. However, Murong Yu wasn't an ordinary ascender. He was many times stronger than the average ascender. The stronger ones had yet to condense a godhead, but their strength wasn't any weaker than a true god. Murong Yu's speed was extremely fast as he rushed forward and threw out a series of punches. Powerful energy continuously blasted out. He wanted to kill Prince Ling Hu. However, Prince Linghu's reaction wasn't slow either. After being sent flying by Murong-Yu's punch, Prince Linghu reacted quickly. Murong-Yu let out a furious roar as a divine radiance suddenly erupted from his body. His berserk aura caused ripples to appear in the surrounding space as he charged towards Murong-Yu. Murong-Yu wasn't afraid at all. He rushed forward and burst out with powerful combat strength, fighting Prince Linghu. During the battle, Murong-Yu felt that the suppression of the God Realm was getting weaker and weaker. The rejection between him and the God Realm was also getting weaker and weaker. Murong-Yu knew that the God Realm was gradually accepting him. As long as he condensed the Godhead, he would be recognized by the God Realm. Mother Asterisker, is this bastard really an ascender who just ascended? He's actually able to fight me to a standstill. He's even getting stronger. The more they fought, the more shocked Prince Linghu became. At the same time, he became more excited. The stronger Murong-Yu was, the more potential he had. If he could subdue him, when Prince Linghu unleashed his full strength, Murong-Yu wasn't his match at all. He was at a disadvantage. However, as Murong-Yu became more familiar with the God Realm, his combat strength grew stronger. At this point, Prince Linghu was no longer able to suppress him. In fact, it was Murong-Yu's turn to suppress Prince Linghu. Fighting is the best way to increase one's strength. It's also the best way to familiarize oneself with one's strength. Not bad. The more Murong-Yu fought, the more excited he became. He almost couldn't hold back his laughter. I'm actually at a disadvantage. He's just an ascender, a mortal who hasn't condensed a godhead. How can he be stronger than me? No, I can't let him continue to grow. Prince Linghu was furious. He knew that Murong-Yu was using the battle as an opportunity to grow stronger. All of you, attack together. Just don't kill him. Prince Linghu finally ordered his guards to attack. Immediately, the guards, who had been on alert, unleashed a terrifying aura and charged in. In an instant, Murong-Yu was in danger. Murong-Yu wouldn't have a problem dealing with one or two guards. However, Murong-Yu wasn't a match for a large group of people. At least for now, he wasn't a match for them. God's descent. Murong-Yu revealed his killing intent. This was the first time he had used a divine ability in the God Realm. When a huge golden figure appeared, it didn't disappoint Murong-Yu. Its power was still as terrifying as before. At this moment, Prince Linghu and the others were distracted. Taking advantage of this fleeting opportunity, Murong-Yu roared. He gathered all his strength on his fists and fiercely punched an early-stage True God guard. Bang! Before the early-stage True God could even react, his body had already been blown apart by Murong-Yu and turned into a bloody mist. He couldn't be more dead than he already was. A two-finger-wide godhead that was emitting a faint halo burst out and fell to the ground. Murong-Yu took a step forward and grabbed the godhead with his hand. Just as he was about to throw the godhead into the Hichu Luoshu world, his expression changed. This was because the godhead couldn't be placed in the Hichu Luoshu world. He could still sense the existence of Hichu Luoshu, but he couldn't contact it. He couldn't use it. At the same time, Prince Linghu and the others reacted. Kill him. Seeing that Murong-Yu had killed one of his guards, Prince Linghu's face turned ashen. With a roar, he rushed forward. You're courting death. He couldn't contact Hichu Luoshu. He wondered what had happened. Murong-Yu was irritated. He put the godhead away and charged at Linghu Gongzi with murderous intent. Chapter 8:18. Bang! Murong-Yu took a step forward and punched another early-stage True God away. Then, Murong-Yu fiercely stomped his foot on the ground, creating a huge crater. Huge cracks spread out in all directions like a spiderweb. Murong-Yu borrowed the force and leaped into the air. In the air, he spun and stomped on the chest of the True God with the heart-ripping lung dragon claw kick. After a loud explosion, the True God let out a miserable shriek. Murong-Yu stomped on him and turned him into a bloody mist. A divine spark that emitted a faint halo fell out. Murong-Yu grabbed it and kept it in his bosom. Murong-Yu instantly exploded with power and killed 2 people in a row. Linghu Gongzi was stunned. He couldn't believe that an ascender could kill a true god. Moreover, it was 2 true gods in a row. Although these 2 true gods were the weakest among true gods, they were still a true god. No matter how weak they were still true gods. They were millions of times stronger than true gods. Kill him. At this moment, Linghu Gongzi felt that he had made a grave mistake. At this moment, Moronyu gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. His life was in danger. Linghu Gongzi even had a frightening thought. He felt that if this continued, he would be killed by Moronyu. He didn't want to die, so he went all out. Today, all of you will die. Moronyu's anger completely exploded. At this moment, it was as if his strength had been enhanced, and he had become even more powerful. The battle character art could now increase Moronyu's strength by 5 times. When Moronyu circulated the battle character art with all his might, his strength became even stronger. At the same time, Moronyu used the army character art to attack Linghu Gongzi like a dart. Kill! Prince Linghu bellowed as he unleashed his strongest attack towards Moronyu along with several others. Nearly 10 true gods had besieged a newly ascended cultivator. If news of this spread out, Moronyu's name would definitely shake the entire primordial desolate continent. His strength had increased, and the suppression of the god realm on him had lessened. Moronyu's current strength was comparable to a mid-stage true god. Those early true gods weren't a match for Moronyu at all. They were killed with a few punches from Moronyu. Bang! 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 Moronyu unleashed his invincible might, killing all the early true gods one after another. In the end, only Prince Linghu and another mid-true god realm guard were left. At this time, Moronyu's entire body was bathed in blood. His murderous aura soared as he used the flying cloud 4 steps to step into the air. His momentum was majestic as he attacked Moronyu. Speaking of the flying cloud 4 steps technique, it was only an ordinary technique in the mortal world. It could temporarily borrow force to step in the void. What Moronyu didn't expect was that he would have to use this most ordinary combat skill again after becoming an immortal or a god. This also made Moronyu realize that there was no such thing as trash combat skills, only trash people. Even the trashiest battle skill would have a world-shaking, world-destroying power when used by a powerhouse. Madman. He's definitely a madman. Young Master Linghu's face turned pale when he saw Moronyu walking through the air like an ancient god of death. Although his strength was not bad, he had reached the middle stage of the true god realm. However, as the son of Ascension City's city lord, one of the giants of the Providence continent, he had never seen such a scene before. Usually, no one would dare to make a move against him. Kill him, young Master Linghu roared. Although the guard was frightened, he still charged towards Moronyu. Prince Linghu, on the other hand, turned around and fled toward Ascension City. This guy actually ran away without a fight. Moreover, Moronyu knew that this guy wasn't just running away. He would definitely go back to get reinforcements. Who knows, there might even be a true god expert coming to kill him. Moronyu might be powerful, but if he were to face a true god expert, he'd definitely be killed in an instant. In the immortal dimension, the gap between every single realm was like a natural chasm, and the difference couldn't be measured by the Tao. I can't let him escape. Moronyu's eyes flashed with a cold light. God's Descent, Dark Demon Prajna, Omnidirectional Kill. At this moment, Moronyu used God's Descent again and supplemented it with other ultimate moves. God's Descent was extremely heaven-defying. Although the intermediate true god expert had been hit once before, he was prepared this time. However, it was useless. In an instant, he lost his mind again. In an instant, all of his movements came to a standstill. Then, this instant was enough for Moronyu to take his life. All kinds of ultimate moves were used as hundreds of millions of Earth Dragon energy bombarded the middle stage true god's body. This middle stage true god was many times stronger than an early stage true god. However, he still couldn't resist Moronyu's violent attacks. The raging waves of energy exploded on the middle stage, True God's body, and blasted him into millions of pieces. Where do you think you're going? After killing the middle stage, True God, Murong stepped into the air and turned into a ray of divine light to chase after young Master Linghu. At the same time, he used one ultimate move after another to attack young Master Linghu. When young Master Linghu saw how Murong killed a guard of the same level as him in an instant, he was already scared out of his wits. How would he dare to fight back? They just kept rushing towards the Ascension City. However, he had no choice but to dodge Murong's attacks. Therefore, his speed naturally slowed down. Space barrier, space imprisonment, space tremor. At this moment, Murong suddenly used the law of space. It was an ultimate move of space. Previously, he didn't use the law of space because the divine world suppressed him too much. Even if he could control the law of space with his current strength, wouldn't have much effect. However, in order to prevent young Master Linghu from escaping, he could only use the law of space. However, soon, Murong was pleasantly surprised. Due to the suppression of the divine world, all kinds of combat skills of the law of space were suppressed. However, it was only suppressed. It was still effective. As a matter of fact, young Master Linghu's body suddenly stopped for a moment. Although it was only for a moment, in a battle between experts, an instant could kill someone a few billion times. Die for me! Murong let out a roar as his figure swooped down like an ancient rock. Several 100 million units of Earth Dragon energy gathered in his fist as he punched out at Linghu Gongzi. Young Master Linghu was shocked. Since he couldn't escape, he could only use a punch to counterattack. Bang! Young Master Linghu spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was sent flying by Murong like a broken rag doll. A powerful force slammed into his body, causing cracks to appear all over his body. Die! Murong roared. He leaped forward and attacked the injured young Master Linghu. You can't kill me. If you kill me, my father won't let you go. You'll die no matter where you go. Young Master Linghu roared in fear. However, he still used his power to block Murong's attack. However, he wasn't Murong's opponent after being injured. Once again, Murong's attack caused him to spit out blood and sent him flying. Numerous ghastly wounds had appeared on his body from the bombardment, and countless meridians within his body had been shattered. Young Master Linghu was truly afraid. Murong let out a low roar and charged forward again. He had always been ruthless to his enemies. After all, being merciful to your enemies was being cruel to yourself. With young Master Linghu's temperament, if Murong didn't kill him, he wouldn't be grateful. Instead, he would go back and gather experts to hunt him down. Since he was already at odds with the Ascension City's City Lord Mansion, he might as well kill young Master Linghu. He would kill as many as he could. My father won't let you go. Young Master Linghu's voice could be heard from afar. However, he had already been turned into a bloody mist by Murong. I feel like I'm about to condense a godhead. I'll leave the Ascension City immediately and find a secluded place to cultivate. As long as I condense a godhead, I won't be afraid no matter how strong the Ascension City is. Murong was about to leave after collecting young Master Linghu and the others' godheads and storage rings. Asterisk clap clap. Asterisk, however, at that moment, a round of applause could be heard. At the same time, two people walked out from not far away. Murong, your strength is indeed extraordinary. It hasn't even been a day since you ascended, and you've already killed more than 10 people. There were even mid-stage true gods. However, that's all you've got. The people you killed were all trash. One of them looked at Murong and sneered. Murong was shocked. From what he said, it seemed like these two people had been hiding nearby, and he hadn't noticed them. Looking at them, Suamo couldn't see through their strength at all. They were at least late-stage true gods. A late-stage true god was much stronger than a mid-stage true god. It could even be said that a late-stage true god could kill a mid-stage true god in an instant. Of course, what surprised Murong the most wasn't their strength, but how did they know his name? It hadn't even been a day since he ascended, and he hadn't even mentioned his name before. Looking at the two of them, it seemed like they had been waiting for him for a long time. Why are you talking nonsense with him? This trash made us wait in this godforsaken place for 10,000 years. If it wasn't for the young master's order, I would have left long ago. Hurry up and kill him so that we can report back. I'm tired of this rubbish place. The other person said impatiently as he closed in on Muronyu. Chapter 819. Are you guys from the Divine Union? Muronyu guessed their identities after hearing their conversation. Only the people from the Divine Union would know about him. However, what surprised Muronyu was that Bastard G had actually sent someone to guard him for another 10,000 years. Wasn't it just killing one of his physical bodies? Anyway, he wasn't dead yet. How could he be so petty? From this, Muronyu could see how much G held grudges. His hatred for him was definitely unresolvable. Kid, you are very smart and you're pretty strong. However, from the moment you started going against the young master, you were destined to die. Now go to hell. The powerhouse who was rushing towards Muronyu suddenly shouted and threw a punch at Muronyu. You want to kill me? It won't be that easy. Muronyu shouted angrily. Instantly, he circulated his maximum strength and threw out a punch of his own. Boom! The two fists fiercely collided with each other, and an earth-shattering sound erupted. A terrifying shockwave erupted, causing the surrounding void to tremble and ripple. At this moment, Muronyu felt as if he'd received a heavy blow. He felt as if he'd been struck by an ancient divine mountain. The powerful force sent him flying. On top of that, Muronyu also heard the bones in his arm break. With this blow, the bones in Muronyu's arm broke inch by inch. Furthermore, the powerful force surged into Muronyu's body, causing the blood in Muronyu's body to churn. His meridians were on the verge of exploding. With a sound, Muronyu couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't even withstand a single blow and was injured right from the start. The late-stage Celestial couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when he saw that he hadn't killed Muronyu with a single blow. It should be known that although the punch just now did not contain 100% of its power, it still used 90% of its power. 90% of his strength was actually unable to kill Muronyu. An ascender? At this moment, the late-stage true god sneered. Old Wong, you can't do it anymore. Men cannot do it. Old Wong, who was the one who attacked Muronyu, had a gloomy expression on his face. Immediately, he took a step forward. Great power radiated from the soles of his feet, causing huge cracks to appear on the ground beneath him. They spread into the distance like spiderwebs. He borrowed the force of the explosion to soar into the air and pounced toward Muronyu once again. Bang! The strength and speed of a late-stage true god were far superior to a mid-stage true god. Before Muronyu could even react, Old Wong's fist once again smashed into his body. Asterisk crack. Asterisk Muronyu, you could even hear the sound of his own body breaking apart. Fresh blood spurted out once again as Muronyu was sent flying once again. However, although Muronyu's body had yet to condense into a divine body, it was still strong enough. He wasn't destroyed by Old Wong's punch. However, Muronyu wasn't in a good state either. The life energy in his body began to surge crazily, repairing his injured body. The difference between a late-stage true god and a mid-stage true god is too great. I can kill a mid-stage true god, but I'm no match for a late-stage true god. If a late-stage true god is already so powerful, then how terrifying would a true god who is one realm higher than a true god be? If I condensed the godhead, wouldn't it be easy to kill a late-stage true god? Unfortunately, I haven't condensed a godhead yet. No, I must escape. I must escape. Muronyu glared fiercely at Old Wong and Old Wong. Then, when Old Wong attacked again, his body flashed and he flew into the distance. If the young master wants you to die, you can't live. You can't escape. Just as Muronyu's body flashed and he was about to escape, Another late-stage, true god from the divine union appeared in front of him in a flash. At the same time, he kicked at Murongyu. He didn't even bother to use his hands to deal with Murongyu. Murongyu's face changed drastically. The speed of a late-stage true god was too fast. He was definitely above him. If things continued to develop like this, he would definitely die. He couldn't sense the Hichu Luoshu, the heavenly punishment order, etc. All of Murongyu's belongings were in the Hichu Luoshu world. His weapons and other resources were all in the Hichu Luoshu world. At this moment, Murongyu could only use the phoenix spear that had been nurturing in his energy center. However, Murongyu had yet to condense his divine spark and become a true god. The phoenix spear was still an immortal weapon and not a divine weapon. It wouldn't be of much use to Murongyu. Do I have to escape back to the immortal world? This thought flashed through Murongyu's mind. Then he shook his head. He could escape back to the immortal world, and these two true gods wouldn't be able to stop him. However, Murongyu didn't want to escape back to the immortal world after less than a day. This would make him lose all his self-esteem and dignity. The dignity of an expert wouldn't allow him to escape back to the immortal world. Since the Ascension City and the Divine Union want to kill me, I have to escape. I have to survive in the immortal world. Not only did he have to survive, but he also had to become an expert and flatten the Ascension City and the Divine Union. This was the heart of an expert. He had to walk through adversity. Flying cloud, 4-step. Murongyu stepped into the air without hesitation and avoided the other party's attack. At the same time, he flew into the distance. Get down here. Old Wong rushed forward and reached out his hand to grab Murongyu. He wanted to grab Murongyu from the void and kill him. Deity's descent. Murongyu roared in his heart and once again used the mind-affecting ultimate technique. At the same time, various space law battle techniques erupted. Their purpose was to stop these two people and make it easier for him to escape. However, Murongyu was disappointed. Regardless of whether it was Deity's descent or other space shackles, they were useless against Old Wong and Old Wong. It wasn't that these battle techniques weren't strong enough. It was just that Murongyu was too weak and the gap between him and Old Wong was too big. Boom! Old Wong's punch almost shattered the void, causing an ear-piercing explosion to erupt in the void. It directly bombarded Murongyu's body. Crack! Murongyu's body caved in from the force of the punch. Even his internal organs were on the verge of shattering. He spat out a mouthful of blood once again. At the same time, the other late true god also pressed down with his palm and directly slapped Murongyu down from the void. Puff! Murongyu spat out a mouthful of blood. He saw that more than half of his body had been damaged. With such an injury, even if his life force was heaven-defying, it was still an injury that couldn't be healed in a short period of time. Moreover, there were still remnants of Old Wong and Old Wong's power in his body. These divine powers wreaked havoc in Murongyu's body and destroyed everything in Murongyu's body. Phantom light wings. Murongyu roared in his heart. I hope I can fly. Otherwise, I can only run back to the immortal world with my tail between my legs. Murongyu didn't want to lose his dignity and be beaten back to the immortal world less than a day after he ascended. However, he was definitely not a pedantic person. Dignity and self-respect were the foundation of life. Without life, everything would be gone. Rumble. As Murongyu roared in his heart, a pile of huge black wings appeared on Murongyu's back. Then Old Wong and Old Wong saw huge black wings flashing violently. Then they saw a shocking scene. With a swish, Murongyu turned into a stream of light and soared into the sky. He flew away. Old Wong and Old Wong looked at each other. They didn't expect Murongyu, an ascender, to be able to fly in the sky. However, they, who were in the true God realm, couldn't fly. Want to fly? Yes, as long as they reached the true God realm, they could fly. However, flying was something that consumed a lot of divine power. Under normal circumstances, even true gods and even heavenly gods wouldn't fly for a long period of time. Especially during a battle, they had to maintain their peak strength at all times. If they were to fly, it wouldn't increase their speed of travel, but increased their speed of death. At this moment, Morongyu was touched. Previously, when he performed the flying cloud 4 steps, he didn't feel that it consumed much energy. After all, he wasn't flying. He was only borrowing the force to stay in the void for a short period of time. At this moment, when he was really flying, he felt that the energy in his body was being consumed crazily. Even with the life force in his body, the energy he converted couldn't keep up with the speed of his energy consumption. I can only fly for half a day at most. After half a day, my energy will be exhausted. Morongyu unwillingly glanced at Old Wong and Old Wong from the center of the sky. Then, with a flap of his wings, he turned into a streak of light and flew forward. He wanted to kill Old Wong and Old Wong. With his advantage of being able to fly, he could kill Old Wong and Old Wong. However, he had consumed too much energy. Perhaps before he could kill Old Wong and Old Wong, his energy would be exhausted. Moreover, he had killed young Master Linghu. At this moment, the city master of Ascension City must have known that his precious son was killed. He would probably chase after him. Rumble. At this moment, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the direction of Ascension City in the distance. It was enough to intimidate the entire universe. A voice that was filled with extreme anger could be faintly heard. "Who is it? Who killed my son? Who is it?" The voice was violent and extremely furious. At that moment, Morongyu even felt an extremely terrifying aura that could crush him to death with a single finger. It was an aura that was countless times stronger than Old Wong and Old Wong's. It was rapidly approaching them from the direction of the Ascension City. City Master of Ascension City, Peak Late True God. He's an overlord of the primordial wilderness continent. Feeling the frightening pressure, Morongyu jumped in fright. He frantically flapped his wings and fled into the distance. Chapter 820. Boom! After Morongyu escaped, a figure rushed down from the sky like a falling star and appeared at the scene where young Master Linghu had been killed. It was a middle-aged man with a fair complexion. However, he looked furious at the moment. He was the city governor of Ascension City, Linghu Chantian. He was at the peak of the late-stage True God realm and was very likely to enter the Heavenly God realm. After Linghu Chantian appeared, his spirit consciousness spread out wildly and flickered in the surroundings. However, he did not discover anything. Linghu Chantian snorted angrily and grabbed with his hand. Suddenly, a blurry image appeared in front of him. It was the scene where Morongyu had killed Morong Chantian. Although the image was blurry, one could basically make out the appearance of young Master Linghu and Morongyu. What an ascender! I'm going to crush your bones and scatter your ashes. I'm going to extract your soul and refine it into a weapon spirit so that you'll be tortured forever. Linghu Chantian roared. His boundless hatred soared up to the sky. It was so terrifying that even the gods and ghosts would weep. When the two Divine Union powerhouses saw Linghu Chantian's hatred, they could not help but shudder. Then, they wanted to leave this place. However, Linghu Chantian looked at Old Wong and young Master Linghu. "How could a mere ascender kill my son? The two of you appeared nearby. Could it be that you kill my son? If that's the case, you can leave with my son." Linghu Chantian roared angrily. With a step, he crossed countless space-time and appeared in front of Old Wong and young Master Linghu. He stretched out his hand and enveloped the two of them. Old Wong and young Master Linghu were furious. How dare someone from the Ascension City attack the Divine Union? He was simply courting death. With a roar, Old Wong and young Master Linghu raised their strength to the limit and punched out fiercely. "You still dare to resist?" Linghu Chantian sneered and shook his hand. Puffed. The strength of Old Wong and young Master Linghu was shattered. They were completely vulnerable. At the same time, Linghu Chantian's hand reached out and grabbed Old Wong and young Master Linghu. Then, Linghu Chantian's big hand was about to crush Old Wong and Old Wong. "Linghu Chantian, you're really courting death. Do you know who we are? We are from the Divine Union. You dare to kill a member of the Divine Union? Old Wong finally felt fear in his heart as he roared furiously. Someone from the Divine Union? Linghu Changtian's body trembled as a tinge of fear flashed in his eyes. Although the Divine Union didn't have any forces on the primordial continent, it was still a superpower in the celestial realm. Anyone they sent out could destroy the Ascension City or even the entire primordial continent. Although Linghu Changtian was considered a tyrant in the primordial continent, his late-stage, true, celestial strength was only at the bottom of the Divine Union. Linghu Changtian was very afraid of the Divine Union. However, he suspected that Old Wong and Old Wong were one of the murderers who had killed Linghu Young Master, so he didn't want to let them off. As long as I kill them, the Divine Union won't know that I'm the one who killed them, no matter how powerful they are. Linghu Changtian was determined to kill Old Wong and Old Wong. Old Wong sneered when he sensed Linghu Changtian's killing intent. The two of us are here on the orders of our young master. If we are killed and delay our young master's matters, you, the Ascension City, and the entire primordial continent will be burned by the Divine Union's fury. Linghu Changtian, who was about to kill the two of them, didn't dare to do so after hearing this. He was afraid of death. In that case, I'll let you off. Do you know who killed my son? Where is that person now? Old Wong and Old Wong coughed a few times before looking at each other and reading each other's thoughts. The person who killed Linghu Young Master was an ascender who had just ascended today. His name is Murongyu. I'm here on the orders of our young master to kill him. However, he has now escaped. Old Wong's eyes moved as he said, An ascender killed my son? There were more than 10 true gods guarding him. Even the two of you who are late true gods couldn't stop him? Linghu Changtian sneered and looked at Old Wong and Old Wong coldly. He wouldn't believe Old Wong's words. After all, no one would believe him if he said it out loud, unless they saw it with their own eyes. Old Wong and Old Wong blushed. They couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't fly and couldn't catch up with Murongyu. He can fly. It should be a flying treasure. He's heading west. If you go after him now, you should be able to catch up with him, Old Wong said in a deep voice as he pointed in the direction Murongyu left. Don't let me find out that you're lying. Otherwise, as long as you're in the primordial continent, I'll kill you no matter who you are. Linghu Changtian looked at Old Wong and Old Wong deeply before he soared into the sky and chased after Murongyu. Let's go back and report to the young master that the mission has been completed. Old Wong smiled faintly and turned to leave. That shouldn't be a problem, right? I have a feeling that that kid is very strange. Linghu Changtian might not be able to kill him. Linghu Changtian is a late true god expert. If he can't kill Murongyu, then the young master won't blame us. Although Murongyu is strange, he's dead for sure. He's dead. Aren't you tired of this godforsaken place? Hurry up and leave, Old Wong said as he turned around and left. The other person hesitated for a moment, but still went back in the end. After the two left, Murongyu's unusual crisis was temporarily resolved. However, an even bigger crisis was quickly approaching him. During the flight, Murongyu sensed an extremely powerful and terrifying aura rapidly approaching from behind. This aura was more than 1,000,000 times stronger than Old Wong and Old Wong. Murongyu knew that it was most likely the Ascension City's city lord who was chasing after him. I'm the lord of the immortal realm. I've just ascended to the god realm, and I'm being hunted down. This is a big loss of face. Fortunately, no one found out. Murongyu laughed self-mockingly as he raised his strength to the limit and shot forward at high speed. During this process, Murongyu's body was crazily cleansed by the life force. Although he hadn't fully recovered, he was already 70 to 80% better. At the same time, he also found that his compatibility with the god realm had increased while he was using his strength. In other words, the god realm was gradually accepting him, and the suppression of the god realm on him was getting smaller and smaller. Of course, if he didn't want to be suppressed, he could only condense a godhead. Murongyu's speed was extremely fast, but a late true god expert was even faster. Not long after, Linghu Changtian caught up. Good thief, let's see where you can run to. When Linghu Changtian saw Murongyu, anger rose from his heart. He roared and quickly punched at Murongyu from a distance. A terrifying force that contained a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth blasted directly at Murongyu. It wanted to kill Murongyu. Murongyu's face changed greatly. He roared and flapped his illusory light wings, flying to the other side. Asterisk Honglong. Asterisk the frightening power brushed past Murongyu's body and smashed into the mountain range below, shattering one of the mountain peaks. Asterisk Puff. Asterisk Murongyu spat out a mouthful of blood. His figure staggered, and the illusory light wings on his back were almost scattered. Although he avoided Linghu Changtian's force attack, he was still swept by the aftermath of the force. Although it was just the aftermath of the force, it almost smashed his body. His body, which had almost recovered, was seriously injured again. It was several times more serious than when he was hit by Old Wang and the others. The gap between our strength is too big. Murongyu felt bitter in his heart. If they were in the immortal world, it would be impossible to seriously injure Murongyu even if there was a difference of several realms. But in the immortal world, things that were impossible before became possible. Things that were possible in the past had become impossible. For example, Murongyu could kill people with a difference of several realms in the immortal world. But now, it was absolutely impossible. It was too sad. However, the saddest thing was that Murongyu found that Linghu Changtian was getting closer and closer. During this process, Linghu Changtian continued to strike out at Yishiwen one after another. However, Murongyu managed to dodge all of the attacks with all his might, but he was still inevitably swept by some of the force's aftermath. As a result, Murongyu's injury became more serious. The most terrifying thing was that he had consumed too much of his strength. Murongyu estimated that he could only fly for 2 hours at most with his current strength. But Murongyu estimated that he could not even last an hour under Linghu Changtian's attack. Damn it, I'll just teleport back to the immortal world and ascend later. But the Yanhuang Immortal World's ascension platform is in the Ascension City. No matter how I ascend, I will always appear in the Ascension City. And if I'm not in the immortal world, I can't condense my godhood in godhood. Hichu Luoshu doesn't know what happened. Damn it. No, I can't escape back to the immortal world. Otherwise, I can only stay in the immortal world and can't ascend. Murongyu flew quickly, but Linghu Changtian was getting closer and closer. Linghu Changtian's attacks were getting more and more terrifying. Murongyu was gradually unable to dodge. His injuries were getting more and more serious. He was about to be beaten to death. Suddenly, Linghu Changtian, who was chasing, frowned slightly, because he knew that not far ahead was the primordial continent's famous forbidden ground, the Ghostly Realm. The Ghostly Realm was extremely terrifying. It was said that even experts at the Sky Realm, or even stronger, could never come out after entering the Ghostly Realm. This was a forbidden ground. Kid, it's a forbidden ground in front of you. You can't escape. Stay here obediently and accept your death. Linghu Changtian laughed maliciously and continued to chase. There was really a strong enemy in front of him and a pursuer behind him. Murongyu groaned inwardly. Chapter 821. Not far ahead, although it looked the same as the surroundings from afar. However, when Murongyu looked over there, he felt a dangerous aura. It seemed that the place called the Ghost Realm was really full of danger. In fact, the Ghost Realm was really full of danger. Look, before even getting close to the Ghost Realm, Linghu Changtian, a late-stage true god, already had a look of fear on his face. Obviously, the Ghost Realm's reputation was too great. Ordinary people did not dare to get close. Even if Linghu Changtian was a pinnacle expert of the primordial wilderness continent, it was still the same. The so-called most dangerous place is also the safest place. In most dangerous places, Murongyu has treasures of heaven and earth everywhere. Who knows, there might even be some inheritance or the like. Might as well enter the Ghost Realm. At most, I'll just teleport back to the immortal world when I feel danger. Just as Murong Yu said, there were definitely many treasures in most dangerous places. Some of the treasures have been left behind, while others have been left behind by those who had entered the land of extremists and died. Over time, more and more people entered, but not many came out. Therefore, there were more and more treasures in the dangerous place. Because Murong Yu had something to rely on, he directly rushed to the ghost realm. Seeing Murong Yu directly rushing to the ghost realm, Linghu Changtian sneered in his heart. However, for the person who killed his son, he would not let off Murong Yu. Prepare to die. Suddenly, Linghu Changtian sped up and crossed countless distances in an instant. He directly rushed to not far behind Murong Yu. At the same time, he gathered his powerful fist and fiercely bombarded Murong Yu. Murong Yu was shocked. He reacted immediately and rushed to the side. However, his reaction speed was fast, but Linghu Changtian's attack was faster. With a bang, Linghu Changtian's fist had already fiercely bombarded Murong Yu's body. A violent and terrifying power erupted. Murong Yu heard the sound of his body breaking. His clothes were instantly turned into fine powder. At the same time, Murong Yu's body cracked open from the bombardment. The clothes he was wearing weren't ordinary clothes. It was a feather armor with powerful defense. However, Linghu Changtian shattered it with a single punch. Moreover, if Murong Yu had not condensed all of his power on the surface of his body in an instant, and at the same time used the power of the spatial laws to block Linghu Changtian's attack, he would have been blasted into a bloody mist. He would be deader than dead. However, even so, Murong Yu definitely did not feel good. Linghu Changtian's power rushed into his body, wreaking havoc in his body, destroying his meridians, flesh, and even bones. Half of his body was smashed to pieces. Although it wasn't blown away, it was only the bones that were connected. Murong Yu knew that this half of his body was crippled. At the very least, it was for the time being. What made Murong Yu even more surprised was that his power was scattered in an instant. In addition to the consumption along the way, his power was completely exhausted at this time. The phantom light wings disappeared from Murong Yu's back in an instant, and Murong Yu was like a meteor, rushing straight into the ghost domain. After drawing a long trajectory in the void, he finally fell heavily on the ground. However, Linghu Changtian stopped in his tracks. He absolutely did not dare to take half a step into the ghost domain. He didn't want to die. He's not dead. Linghu Changtian's eyes flickered. In his heart, he was also extremely shocked by Murong Yu. Murong Yu was very powerful. He was able to kill young Master Linghu, who was in the intermediate true god realm. Linghu Changtian no longer doubted this. After all, he chased after Murong Yu all the way. With his speed, if he didn't use all his strength to suddenly accelerate at the last moment, he was afraid that it would take a long time for him to catch up with Murong Yu. Although he didn't chase after Murong Yu for long, he saw how terrifying Murong Yu's speed was with his own eyes. However, what Linghu Changtian didn't know was that even if there was no ghost domain here, Murong Yu couldn't run away, because his power was about to be exhausted. Kid, you'll definitely die if you enter the ghost domain. However, just in case, you must not leave the ghost domain. Linghu Changtian sneered in his heart. His figure flashed, flew to a high mountain next to him, and then sat down directly. He was unwilling to leave. Although he knew that Murong Yu, who was severely injured by him, would definitely die after falling into the ghost domain, he was still worried. However, he was still worried, so he decided to guard this place for a few years. If he didn't come out in a few years, then he would definitely die. Bang! Murong Yu was like a boulder as he ruthlessly smashed into the ground. The huge impact made his body, which was already in a mess because of Linghu Changtian's divine power, was even more unbearable, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Then, Murong Yu heard scream. Soon after, Murong Yu could faintly make out a woman rapidly flying over from a short distance away. However, before he could see what the woman looked like when she fell to the ground, his vision suddenly turned black, and he lost consciousness. It's over in this dangerous ghost domain. I actually lost consciousness and fainted. Does the heavens want me to die? This thought flashed through Murong Yu's mind, and then he fainted. Grandpa Village Chief, why hasn't Big Brother woken up yet? His battered body has already recovered, but he still hasn't woken up. His recovery speed is so terrifying. This is the fastest recovery speed this little Cien has ever seen. In a room that could not be considered luxurious, but was very spacious, a man about 25 or 26 years old was lying on the bed. He seemed to have fallen asleep. In front of the bed were a 16 or 17-year-old girl, a youth of similar age, and a white-bearded, kind-looking old man. The voice from before was the voice that the girl had spoken to the old man. The girl's name was Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian, you've never left the village. You haven't seen many people. Uncle Lin was also injured at that time. Furthermore, he wasn't as injured as this Big Brother. Even with the help of many medicinal pellets and treasures, his injuries didn't recover as quickly. No, it's not even a tenth of Big Brother's recovery speed. Xiao Xian glared at the youth and coldly snorted. The youth chuckled and did not argue with Xiao Xian. He was not good with words, and every time he argued with Xiao Xian, he would definitely lose. Thus, he looked to the old man, the village chief of their village. Village chief, you said that he isn't even a god. He doesn't even have a godhead. How can he have such a terrifying recovery speed? It seems that he doesn't have any treasures on him. If I'm not wrong, he should be an ascender. The village chief's eyes flashed with wisdom as he said calmly, What? He's an ascender? Xiao Xian and the youth could not help but exclaim in surprise. The village chief nodded and continued, Not only is he an ascender, but he ascended not long ago. According to his body's compatibility with the god realm and the suppression of the god realm on him, he definitely ascended not more than 10 years ago. Less than 10 years after ascending, but he was chased into the ghost realm. Those people must want to capture Big Brother as a slave again. They like to do this kind of thing. Many ascenders are like this. Before they grow up, they are captured and sold as slaves. This Big Brother must be unwilling to be captured, so he escaped to the ghost realm. Xiao Xian's face was full of anger as she spoke. It seemed that she hated those who captured ascenders. If that's the case, he shouldn't be here to spy on the people of our village? The youth scratched the back of his head and said with some annoyance, Our village is deep in the ghost realm. Ordinary people can't enter at all. Xiao Xian snorted coldly. She seemed to be proud that no one had discovered their existence. In the depths of the ghost realm, there was a severely injured youth. That youth was obviously Murong Yu, who was chased by Linghu Chantian and was finally blasted into the ghost realm. However, at this time, Murong Yu's body had recovered, but his consciousness had not yet awakened. This was all thanks to the powerful and heaven-defying tree of life. Oh yes, Grandpa Village Chief, since Big Brother is an ascender, and he ascended not long ago, then is he from a Yin Huang immortal world? It seems that Uncle Lin is from the Yin Huang immortal world. Xiao Xian blinked and looked at the village chief. I don't know why the Yin Huang immortal world declined. After so many years, no one has ascended. If he is really from the Yin Huang immortal world. A strange look flashed in the village chief's eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. In fact, he was basically sure that Murong Yu was from the Yin Huang immortal world. This was because people from the other two immortal worlds could not have ascended to the primordial wilderness continent. If Big Brother is from the Yin Huang immortal world, then it would be great. Many people in our village are related to the Yin Huang immortal world. Hee. Xiao Xian laughed. Two small dimples hung on her face. They were shallow and looked very cute. Looking at Xiao Xian's smile, the youth did not know why he refuted. Maybe he is from the Xianlong immortal world or the Tai Mo immortal world. He seemed to like bickering with Xiao Xian. Little Tian, do you have to go against your big sister? Xiao Xian put her hands on her hips and glared at the youth, who was Little Tian. Little Tian curled his lips. It's obvious that I'm older than you. Can't I be your big sister just because I'm younger than you? All right, you two stop fooling around. He's awake. The village chief spoke at this time. As expected, Murong Yu, who was lying on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. First, He looked confused. Then, when he saw Xiao Xian and the other two, he jumped up from the bed. He looked at the three of them warily and said, "Who are you people? Why am I here? Where's this place?" You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.